What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. Arrogant Admiral 1 Chapter 1, Auto-generated chapter title. 001. Time is running out, foreign aid invited to top the war. Marine Headquarters, Marineford. The sky is gloomy. The sea is extremely calm, the calmness makes people panic, like a sign before a storm. Today, for Marine, it was standing at the crossroads of destiny. No matter which direction you go, will change the pattern of the entire world. There is no other reason, just because Marine caught Ace. To be precise, Blackbeard should have given Ace to Marine on the condition of Shichibukai. But no matter what the process is, Ace is indeed in Marine's hands now. This is not only a bargaining chip but also a bomb. Used it well, by surprise. If you don't use it well, play with fire and set yourself on fire. In Marshal Sengoku's office, Garp, Crane Staff Officer, San Admiral, and other Marine senior executives are all here. Sengoku paced back and forth, seeming to weigh something. After a while, he stretched out two fingers and finally said, "Two choices. We announce that Ace is in our hands, to welcome Whitebeard's anger and to officially fight the four emperors. Or, Ace will be executed secretly. In short, the descendants of the devil must not stay." Sengoku blocked the news that Ace was imprisoned at Marine in the first place. So as not to be known in advance by Whitebeard, the current Marine is not confident enough to withstand the anger of the four emperors. It's not that I can't beat it, it's the price that Marine can't afford. Don't look at the old man, make up your mind. Garp wasn't very happy about this incident, changed from the usual carelessness, and spread his hands somewhat depressed. After all, Ace is also his grandson, and Garp is also entangled in his heart. Akainu snorted coldly and said, "Of course it's the first one, just use Ace to kill Whitebeard. It's time for Marine to come to a battle of prestige, otherwise these all-evil pirates would really think that we Marine is too bullied. Everyone actually treats the reward order as a trifling matter." Akainu is a hardliner, and his eyes are full of war at the moment. With his fists clenched, it seemed that he couldn't wait to compete head-on with four emperors. Kizaru leaned against the doorframe, pouting while cutting his nails, and said, "Advertisement? Huh. That's not good. Whitebeard is not easy to deal with, that's the strongest man in the world. Besides, Whitebeard hasn't got a name for himself in the sea for so many years." With a scream, "I don't know how many New World pirates will work for him. It's terrible. Fighting him head-on is not a wise move." Kizaru is an old B****************. Naturally, he is unwilling to do this kind of laborious and desperate work. Isn't he fragrant to fish and drink tea in the office every day? The opponent was Whitebeard, and not a supernova. It was really going to fight, but it would be deadly. So Kizaru supports the second approach. Sengoku frowned slightly. Looking at Aokiji, he said, "What about you, don't you have anything to say?" Aokiji stretched, thought about it, and then slowly spoke. "With the current strength of Marine, I am afraid that the Whitebeard Pirates will have to pay a high price. The outcome is really hard to say. Furthermore, the most troublesome thing is the other four emperors who are ready to move, just because they are mantis hunting cicadas, and the Oriole will be behind. We must ensure that while solving Whitebeard, we must also generate sufficient deterrence against the other four emperors. If you fight Whitebeard and both lose, you will inevitably take advantage of these three guys to come in. So, after the battle with Whitebeard, we must preserve the strength to be able to deal with another four emperors. Unfortunately, our Marine's current combat capabilities are still unable to do this." Aokiji is still very objective. In a word, Marine's current combat power is not enough. If this battle continues, the best result is that the enemy will hurt 1,800. If there are one or two four emperors, then Marine will not be able to parry. The consequences could be disastrous. The three admiral all expressed their opinions. Just wait for Sengoku to make up his mind. Sengoku looked around everyone. Then his eyes fell on Akainu. The old man has the same idea as Akainu, use this opportunity to kill Whitebeard in one fell swoop. The audience is silent. As soon as this remark came out, the Marine executives present had some surprises. This is not like what Sengoku said. After all, the resourceful General Sengoku has always been relatively stable. According to normal circumstances, Sengoku should be more in favor of Aokiji's ideas. Staff Crane took a closer look at Sengoku, seeing this old war-friendly like is not a joke, so asked suspiciously, "You cunning old fellow, how can you be so impulsive?" Sengoku came to the window and looked at the Marine soldiers under martial law. After a while, he said, "Advertisement, with Whitebeard's intelligence capabilities, I am afraid that no matter how we block the news, the secret of Ace's capture by us, it is estimated that he will know soon. Besides, the fellow Blackbeard is unreliable. The old man always thinks that he has another purpose, so he has a good chance of revealing the news. Now, we don't have a choice, Whitebeard guy, will call the door sooner or later. Since this can't be changed, it's better to take this opportunity to invite you to enter the urn and catch the Whitebeard ship group in one go. Change the world pattern. Let the pirates' internal friction due to the vacated four emperors' position." What Sengoku said makes sense. Now the situation in New World is too stable. Marine can't find a chance to break the game. Only by breaking the balance between the four emperors and causing chaos within the pirates can Marine have a chance. The resourceful general is the resourceful general, not for nothing. The Crane staff nodded. "Unexpectedly, you old fellow already thought of this step. But, on this basis, you will never make such a crazy decision. You can't deceive the old, Sengoku, is there anything you haven't told us? Staff Crane knew Sengoku too well, and there was only one possibility for him to make such a bold decision with such a steady person. That's what Sengoku must have assassin, the killer that can make this battle win. Otherwise, Sengoku would not be so confident. After all, this is obviously fighting with 4 emperors, but in fact it is fighting with all 4 emperors. However, what kind of hole card is it that can make Sengoku think that he can win this battle, and even threaten the other 3-4 emperors not to act rashly? Sengoku paused, then laughed loudly. As expected of Crane's staff, he really understands me. Yes, the old man invited a foreign aide to the army commander Kong. Counting the time, he should have already set off. Foreign aide? When did you, old fellow? It's wrong, just one foreign aide is not enough. The Crane staff was taken aback for a moment and muttered. Wait a minute. What do you mean, old fellow, is that this person can give Marine a certainty of victory? The Crane staff took a breath, his jaw couldn't close in shock. Several other admiral, also the first time they heard of this foreign aide, became curious. They know, Sengoku is not a silly talker, since Sengoku could make up his mind to deal with Whitebeard so decisively, it would frighten the 4 emperors. That means this foreign aide is really unusual, just one person can give Sengoku so much confidence. Who is this mysterious foreign aide? I have never heard of such a man in the army. Chapter 2. Auto-generated chapter title, 002. The 7 Deadly Sins Template, the Arrogant Army Admiral Ron. Now, on the rough sea, a warship is heading towards Marineford at full speed. This warship set off from the army headquarters overnight. Tashigi and Smoker, as the persons who carried out this order, were mainly responsible for receiving Ron to Marineford on time. Sir Smoker, who is this? Why did Marshal Sengoku invite him over? And let us not delay for a moment, and treat him with the highest courtesy? Tashigi whispered to Smoker. The two stood on the deck facing the sea breeze. It was almost noon, and the man inside still did not show up. Tashigi only met the man once in the morning when he had just picked him up. This man is of normal figure, his face is very handsome, he smiles very brightly, and he speaks softly and politely. Tashigi's first impression of him was very good, it's just that Tashigi doesn't know the difference between Ron in the morning and Ron in the noon. It's just because Ron hadn't come out until noon since he got into the cabin. Marshal Sengoku repeatedly confessed to the two that he must take this man to Marine headquarters on time. This makes Tashigi very curious. After all, she had never seen Marine Gao, she valued a person so much. Smoker took a deep breath, because they are the closest to the army headquarters. So I temporarily received an order from Sengoku, accepted this task. This was the first time they spoke to Marshal Marine. Did you not hear what the people at headquarters called him just now? You mean? Admiral? If I'm not mistaken, he should be Admiral, the Liu Yijun who took office 3 months ago. Army Admiral? Does the army also have Admiral? This is the first time I have heard of it? Tashigi exclaimed, thinking about the person he saw in the morning, then quickly lowered his voice and said. But, it's different from what you said, he doesn't look like Admiral. I always feel that it's not very strong, Smoker said in a deep voice. Although I think so too. But, according to my guess, Marshal Sengoku invited him over to attack the 4 emperors. Is this army admiral strong, do you think? Tashigi took a deep breath, was startled by Smoker's remarks, and whispered. How did you know that Marshal Sengoku was going to act on 4 emperors? Advertisement Smoker took a sip of the cigar, then spit out a smoke ring with a solemn expression. First heard that Marine locked up the captain of the Whitebeard 2nd Division yesterday. At this time, Sengoku borrowed an admiral from Kong. Think about it, isn't it obvious? The two were outside discussing Ron. And Ron, taking a nap in the cabin. Generally, Ron is reluctant to go out at noon, because he is too strong at this time, so strong that he wants to have a fight when he sees it. That's right, Ron traveled to the world of One Piece just a few months ago. It's just that, unlike normal routines, Ron's identity is neither Marine nor pirate. Instead, he went straight to the army who had never seen his face in One Piece. The army is mainly responsible for suppressing the rebellious army in various places, as well as fighting the revolutionary army. Directly under the leadership of the army commander Kong. While coming to the world of One Piece, Ron obtained the 7 Deadly Sins template system. Arrogance, jealousy, rage, laziness, greed, gluttony and lust. 7 templates. Has 7 different magic powers. Ron took the lead in choosing the template for the crime of arrogance. Then immediately gained the ability of Ace Kano, the sin of arrogance among the 7 deadly sins. Have the magic of the sun the closer to noon, the stronger the strength. At noon, it is basically invincible. I am the only one in the world. When the template is 100% complete, the next template can be opened. Ron relied on the power of the sin of arrogance, and it took him less than a month. It became an army admiral, and he was highly valued by Kong, and even wanted to train Ron as his successor. Until now, the template's progress has reached 41%, which means that he can now play 41% of the power of the crime of arrogance. In order to upgrade the template faster, Ron tries his best to fit the characteristics of the template characters. But, for this progress, Ron still wasn't satisfied. Whenever progress is slow, Ron always thinks, it would be better if he chose the sin of desire first. Guarantee the fastest full level. Ron thought he could upgrade with peace of mind here. Unexpectedly, the guy Kong transferred him to Marine. Ron calculated the timeline and guessed it. Sengoku must have seconded him to fight the war. Advertisement anyway, the template progress has reached a bottleneck. It is better to change the place and continue to try. With this idea, Ron boarded the warship Marines sent to pick him up. At this time, a pirate ship suddenly appeared in front of the left. The soldier in charge of the observation ran over to report immediately. Tashigi and Smoker immediately became alert. Tashigi held the telescope and his expression became more and more nervous. Oh, this pirate flag is the pirate ship of 4 Emperors Kaido. Smoker's face changed when he heard the words, and he grabbed the binoculars and said, "How unlucky, let me see." Encountering 4 Emperors Kaido at this time, don't you have to finish it? Looking through the binoculars, Smoker saw, sure enough, it was the pirate banner of Beast's Pirates. It's just a huge mammoth head on the bow. One good news, one bad news. Smoker said solemnly. What's the good news? Tashigi asked immediately. The good news is that this is not Kaido's ship. What's the bad news? Tashigi breathed a sigh of relief and asked again. Bad news, this is one of the 3 plagues of Beast's Pirates, Jack the Drow's ship. The heart that Tashigi had just let go of was suspended again. Even if it is the 3 plagues, they can't deal with it. Tashigi stomped his feet in a hurry. Why is it so unlucky? 3 plagues can still be encountered on the marine dedicated route? Why do people from Beast's Pirates appear here at this time? And, normal pirate ships will avoid warships as soon as they encounter warships here. Why is this pirate ship in front of me? Is there a vague posture to lean over? Chapter 3, Auto-generated chapter title. 003. Master Jack wants to lean over when he sees the ship, it's time to change it. Master Jack, there is a warship over there. The giver put down his binoculars and said to Jack the Drow, one of the 3 plagues. Shut up. Don't say it, another gorilla just wanted to go up and cover his mouth. It's a pity it's still too late. The giver with the telescope in hand still said something. Oh, it's over. The gorilla who came forward to stop sighed to the giver. Unexpectedly. It's still too late to hurry up. If Master Jack hears it, it is estimated that the old problem will be committed again. As predicted. When Jack the Drow heard these words, he immediately became energetic. The huge body stood up from the deck. Go to the bow. Let the wind and sea hit him. Lofty. Draw out the ivory knife. Pointing to the warship ahead and said, get the boat over. The gorilla heard the familiar words for the giver. I felt tight. Master Jack's problem of wanting to lean on when he sees the ship, he really needs to change it. This is no ordinary place. They were on the orders of Kaido-sama to monitor Marine's actions. This is Marine's dedicated route. The consequences of making trouble here can be imagined. The gorilla shed sweat from the giver and hurriedly stepped forward and said, Master Jack, that warship is not an ordinary warship at first glance. We still don't know who is on it. And Kaido-sama just asked us to come over for information. You can't act rashly. The gorilla gave the giver the idea that Jack would calm down if he moved out of Kaido-sama. Never expected, snapped. Jack directly slapped the face of the gorilla to the giver. Draw him a few meters away. It didn't stop until it hit the mast. Jack didn't look at him either. Angrily said, who do you think of Lousy? Lousy is Lord Jack. Get the boat past me. The other pirates watched the gorilla give the giver blood on their faces, and their teeth were knocked out. It's a wise turn of direction. Rushed towards the warship. The 4 emperors are too courageous, right? They really dared to rush over. Seeing the opponent's pirate ship was getting faster and faster. The purpose couldn't be more obvious, it was aimed at them. Tashigi couldn't help but exclaimed, advertisement. Smoker frowned. It was very close to Marine's headquarters. He never expected that Jack would dare to do something with them in this place. Tashigi, go call the headquarters for support. This guy is not something we can deal with. There is no other way. I can only call the headquarters for help first. And I have to buy more time to hold on until the reinforcements rush over. Tashigi nodded, immediately ran towards the cabin. The Jack pirate ship is extremely fast, and it has already arrived in front of the warship in the blink of an eye. Who I thought it was. It turned out to be 2 Marine miscellaneous soldiers. When he got closer, Jack could see the people on the boat clearly. Unexpectedly, the highest officer on board was Commodore. This couldn't help but disappoint Jack. To be honest, a Commodore really makes him uninterested. But since it's here, it's all here. He accepted the Marine's life on this warship. Jack. You are so courageous, you dare to act on warships here. Smoker frowned when the opponent called himself a miscellaneous soldier and said in a cold tone. Jack laughed. Kill you all, no one will know that I have done something to the warship. Arrogant. The voice just fell. Jack's huge body leapt sharply and rushed straight over. When Smoker saw this, he dared not take it carelessly. White fist. His arms turned into smoke and greeted him. However, Jack pulled out 2 ivory knives and a cold light flashed. Puff. 2 blood bursts out. 2 blood grooves were cut open in Smoker's chest, crossing each other. One move. It's just a second Smoker. Smoker was hit hard, lost his combat power, and lay on the ground. This is the captain of this warship? It seems that there is no great role in this. The gorilla can't help but let go of the giver and admire it at the same time. Master Jack's strength has improved again. This growth rate is really terrifying. It deserves to be the youngest 3 plagues of Beast's Pirates. Jack looked at Smoker, who fell to the ground and instantly lost his interest. Jack has no interest in dealing with the remaining miscellaneous soldiers. No one can fight. Back on the boat, he said to his hands. Blow me the boat and sink it. Moment, dozens of cannons were aimed at the warship. Tashigi just ran into the cabin, advertisement. She had heard smokers scream, can't let her think about it. Picking up the phone worm, he directly dialed the phone in Marshal Sengoku's office. Sudden, a big hand held down Tashigi's phone worm. Tashigi was exclaiming, a voice sounded from behind her. Are you praying for someone to save your life? That's a pet behavior? Tashigi looked up and looked at the extremely tall and muscular man in front of him in an incredible way. So strong, there is no room for this man in the cabin. Standing in front of him, like a mountain, the oppressive Tashigi couldn't breathe. Etc. Who is this? How could it appear on a warship? Who are you? Tashigi blurted out, Army Admiral, Ron. Ron said lightly, but didn't even look at Tashigi. Then walked toward the door. Army Admiral? It's him. Why is it totally different from the one I saw in the morning? Tashigi looked dumbfounded. When did he become so strong? This kind of oppression, just standing in front of him, I feel suffocated. Jack just wanted to order the shot, suddenly felt a strong breath constantly soaring. Immediately turned around and looked in the direction of the warship's hatch. Excitedly said, haha, there seems to be a big man. While talking, he jumped up from the boat again, holding a double-edged ivory knife. He cut at the figure that just came out. This trick just killed Smoker in a flash. Tashigi on the side could not help holding his breath, and prayed secretly, hoping that Ron would avoid it. However, boom, Ron punched directly in the front. The ivory knife broke at the sound. Jack's huge figure flew out directly. He fell sharply on his boat. Not only are you stupid, you are also very unlucky, and you went to such a remote place to die. Ron looked at Jack condescendingly. A blazing fireball appeared in the palm at the same time. The fireball is getting bigger and bigger, it's hot as the sun. Get the sun without mercy. Chapter 4, Auto-generated chapter title. 004. The strongest man in the army for 800 years. Quick, shoot. What are you doing in a daze? Jack panicked completely. Lying on the ground, his body has broken many points. There is no longer the awe-inspiring way of leaning the boat over. Looking at the man in front of me, this is just a random punch from him. I almost beat myself to death. When will Marine come out with such a powerful person? Now, the blazing fireball in his hand was actually extremely dazzling. This is the first time Jack has a feeling of being enveloped by death. I can't care about it now. Immediately ordered his men to fire the gun quickly. These subordinates have just been relieved from the scene of Master Jack being beaten into the air. No longer hesitate. The cannonball is loaded, aimed, and fired. Ron didn't give him any chance, jumped directly into the air. Threw the hot flames in his hands to Jack's pirate ship. The merciless sun. Boom, huge fire, swallowing Jack's pirate ship instantly. Together with the shells fired, directly blast the Jack pirate ship to the bottom of the sea. A huge wave burst out. Tashigi, who had witnessed everything from the side, was stunned. She hasn't reacted yet. Jack and the entire pirate ship have been bombed to the bottom of the sea. A whole ship of pirates, these are all elites from one of the 3 plagues of beasts pirates. Let alone the terrifying high temperature, there is no chance of survival just by being bombed on the bottom of the sea? However, this is not over yet. Ron stretched out a hand in midair and yelled softly. Bursting arrogance. The voice just fell. Boom, there was a loud noise. A huge fireball that sank to the bottom of the sea along with the pirate ship. It exploded directly in the deep sea. Advertisement. The terrifying heat was suddenly released in an instant. Directly evaporate the surrounding seawater. Where the Jack pirate ship sank, the surrounding seawater instantly evaporated due to the instantaneous high temperature, and a huge cavity with a diameter of several hundred meters appeared at once. Immediately afterwards, the surrounding sea began to pour into the hollow in the middle. A huge vortex was formed in the deep sea. The warship relies on a special power system. Only then came out of the whirlpool. Marine Headquarters, Marshal's office. Hey, Sengoku is discussing the new foreign aid with Marine executives. Suddenly the phone worm rang. Sengoku knew it was sent to pick up Ron's smoker. So pick it up immediately, but after feeding for a long time, the other party didn't even speak. It was even hung up. Staff Crane said worriedly, isn't something wrong? Sengoku shook his head and said, with that guy here, nothing should happen. Garp saw that Sengoku seemed to trust this person, and casually asked, Sengoku, is this person you seconded to, is he very strong? Sengoku took a deep breath and said, Kong said he was the strongest man in the army in 800 years. Hiss, Garp and the Crane staff took a breath. They know Kong very well. Unexpectedly, Kong, who has never boasted, would give such a high evaluation to this person. How horrible he should be. But Akainu has some disapproval. He has absolute confidence in his own strength. Akainu has the strongest attacking power, Devil Fruit. He has been with Kizaru since joining the army. He is called the Marine Monster. He naturally has his own arrogance. Therefore, I don't believe the title of the strongest man in the entire army in 800 years. Just an army admiral. How strong can it be? Can they have the admiral that they have experienced in the sea to be strong? As we all know, the sea is 100 times more dangerous than the land. Marine is also the strongest in the army. This is Marine's sole arrogance. When this man arrives, Akainu will want to see, Why he is called the strongest man in the army in 800 years. Has Marine's Commodore weakened to this point? Ron looked down at Smoker lying on the ground and said without sympathy. Ahem. So arrogant, Smoker was a little embarrassed. Unexpectedly, Marine was educated by the army. Advertisement. Sit up hard. Coughed twice, then gritted his teeth and said. You are too strong. In this scene just now, both he and Tashigi were watching. Even if this Jack is the ancient demon fruit power, there is absolutely no possibility of survival. After a while, Marine soldiers in charge of the salvage climbed up. Only half of the ivory was fished out of the deep sea. Reporter, only half of the ivory was found below. Tashigi and Smoker looked at each other. All saw the horror in the eyes of the other party. Before this, they were still whispering Ron on the deck. Doseki also said that this man doesn't look very good. Now Tashigi can't wait to give himself 2 mouths. In one round, the 3 plagues under the 4 emperors, Jack, the pirate over 1 billion, only had half of the ivory left. If this is not terrible, then there is really no great person. Tashigi looked at the huge figure in front of him. This is very different from the man in the morning. Is this his devil fruit ability? But why do you feel that his tone of voice has changed? Very gentle in the morning, now it is the kind of arrogance that despises everything. Tashigi glanced back at the whirlpool behind him and half of the ivory on the deck. At noon, there was a sudden chill. Too strong. I don't know who is stronger, Army Admiral or Marine Admiral. Soon. Many warships have come to Marin. The medical soldiers came immediately and carried Smoker to the headquarters for treatment. What's going on? Sengoku is leading several other admiral out to meet Ron. Are preparing to introduce each other. Unexpectedly, as soon as I got here, I saw Smoker being carried out covered in blood. Could not help asking. And Akainu, but he kept staring at the strong figure standing on the bow. This is the killer of Sengoku. Is that the strongest man in the army in 800 years? Chapter 5. Auto-generated chapter title, 005. Akainu. How arrogant. Let me extinguish your arrogant flame. Ron stood at the bow of the ship and did not get down. Bathing in the sun, several other people all stood on the ground. Like looking up to the gods, raise your head, exceptionally dazzling. It's not that Ron deliberately pretended to be forced. It's just that he is now immersed in the increase in system templates. Ron never thought, while killing Jack the Drow. The template progress of Crime of Pride has been increased by 5%. It suddenly changed from 41% to 46%. This can be said to be the first time there has been such a big increase. Is it because of the pirate killed? I worked so hard in the army for more than 3 months, and the template progress only went from 0% to 41%. Unexpectedly, killing a pirate casually, it rose by 5%. If I'm not mistaken, the higher the level to kill the pirate, the greater the template progress will increase. Is that so, system? That's right, host, the template progress is mainly increased by killing the pirates. Close black lens bracket. The cold system voice sounded from Luo's mind. Ron frowned slightly. Why didn't you tell me in the first place? I wasted more than 3 months in the army. Ron had never seen a pirate when he was in the army. Of course, it is impossible to know that killing the pirate would have such a fast efficiency, so the template progress has been slow. Had it not been transferred by Sengoku this time, Ron estimated that he was still practicing hard for the daily progress of less than 1%. Because Master Host did not ask me, an irritating reply. The corners of Ron's mouth raised. He smiled slightly, but this smile made people shudder. You are just a parasite. It is your job to position yourself and serve the host wholeheartedly. Really arrogant, I understand Master Host. The cold sound of the system sounded again. In order to make up for my mistake, dear host, when the template progress reaches 70%, we will provide you with a random gift package. Close black lens bracket. Ron nodded in satisfaction. Pirates of the level of Jack the Drow can bring 5% progress. Then, Shichibukai should be the same. Kill a few casually. It is easy to reach 70%. Suddenly, Ron became interested in being seconded to support Marine in the war. If this battle is over, your template will reach 100%. Then you can unlock the next 7 Deadly Sins template. Who should I unlock? Meliodas fighting back, or Ma Lin, who has unlimited magic power? On the pier, Tashigi reported all the ins and outs of the matter to Sengoku. Advertisement here. Sengoku couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, Ron was on that boat. Otherwise, Tashigi and Smoker, plus a ship of Marine, will all be killed by Jack. At the same time, Sengoku also thought to himself, why would the men of 4 emperors Kaido appear here? As we all know, there is a dedicated route for Marine. Could it be? They have got the news that Ace was caught by Marine in advance? Probably. The intelligence capabilities of the 4 emperors are truly extraordinary. It seems that in the next war, they have to deal with more than Whitebeard. Marine has to speed up preparations. Kizaru touched his chin and cocked his mouth. Looking at the huge ivory in Tashigi's hands, hey. Could not help but say, huh? That's horrible. If the old man remembers correctly, Jack is the fruit of an ancient mammoth. It turned out that only half of the ivory was left. If this is an old man, it may not be possible to do it. Akainu said nonchalantly, nothing to fuss about. If you are an old man, you can do it. Aokiji was lost in thought. Is it so decisive? Directly kill the pirates, rather than grabbing and returning from custody. Is this the style of the army? Really arrogant. Aokiji looked up and looked at the strong figure on the bow. Bask in the sun, it makes people shudder, chill all over. Such as the falling ice cellar, I couldn't help but shudder. Is it the oppressive feeling brought by that man? Etc. It turns out that I am frozen fruit. Oh, that's all right. When they first met, Marine 3 Admiral had a special impression of Ron from the army. After knowing the ins and outs of the matter, Sengoku finally relieved. Unexpectedly, Ron sent himself such a big gift just after we met. Immediately killed one of the 3 plagues under the command of 4 Emperors Kaido. According to Tashigi's description, although the process is a bit unbelievable, it is said that he evaporated the sea into a huge hole with one blow. This is really unimaginable, but advertisement if this is true. Kong's comment seems to be correct. Moreover, there is still a period of time before the Top Wars launch. During this time, you can learn more about Ron's strength. In order to make the best arrangements on the battlefield. Sengoku coughed twice. Then said, "This is the first time everyone has met. Let me introduce you to each other. These 3 are Admiral of Headquarters, Aokiji, Kizaru, Akainu, and they are also Marine's highest combat power." Sengoku is very proud when talking about these 3 people. After all, this is the face of Marine. Later, he introduced to his own person. And this one is the foreign aide I invited from the army. Army Admiral Ron, you guys get to know each other. In the next period of time, we must work together to eliminate the Whitebeard Pirates. The brief introduction is over. Aokiji, Kizaru and others nodded. It was a hello, and Akainu is indeed a little unhappy. There is no other reason, just because this so-called army admiral is so arrogant. She was standing on the boat, looking down at herself and others below. Condescending, did not mean to come down at all. This army admiral, even in Marine's territory, dares to be so arrogant. Different units have always met for the first time, giving the other side a tradition of smashing the enemy. This makes Akainu very unhappy, dangling a cigar. Looking up at Ron, he said, "That guy named Ron. Should you not come down? When will you stand there?" Ron was thinking about whether to choose the sin of anger template or the sin of gluttony template next. Unexpectedly, he was suddenly interrupted by Akainu's cry. Bowed his head blankly, looking at Akainu on the ground. Said in a flat tone, "You are right below, and this perspective is where you should look at me." What an arrogance. Akainu immediately furious, "Come down. Today I will extinguish your arrogant flame. Surely Marine is no one else." Chapter 6, Auto-generated chapter title. 006. Army Admiral vs Marine Admiral, have you ever seen a god go down to challenge mankind? Ron still looked blank. Stand still and stay unmoved. The tone was flat and made people feel that he didn't pay attention to the other party at all. Naked arrogance. Akainu was a violent temper, and he didn't like this army admiral very much. After all, in the whole army, their Marine is the strongest unit. As expected, Marine Admiral is also the strongest. This guy seems to be young, he just dared to despise Marine in such a small way when he became an Admiral Army. Kizaru can bear it, Aokiji can bear it, but he Akainu can't bear it. Although this time I asked the army to come and help, I couldn't let them underestimate it. Today, must give this army admiral a disarm. Give him a good lesson. Teach him. Come out, don't be so arrogant, let him know what it means to be a low-key person. And, by the way, what is the level of army admiral? Seeing that Akainu was about to rush forward, Sakazuki, don't be impulsive. Sengoku frowned. Stop it immediately. Now he doesn't want to cause any trouble in Marine again. This is the crucial moment for everyone to deal with Whitebeard. Marshal Sengoku, you can see that this guy is arrogant first. If we don't teach him a lesson, I'm afraid we Marine will be overwhelmed by the army and the 3 armies. Akainu gearing up, his complexion was solemn. I can't wait to engrave the word anger on my face. Staring closely at Ron above, fighting vigorously. Forget it, let this guy give it a try. Don't you want to know what is the strength of Kong's 800-year-old strongest man in the army? Garp stopped Sengoku, who wanted to continue talking. 2 rows of neat white teeth were revealed, and he smiled. The Monkey D family, among other things, the mouth is really good, much better than Blackbeard. Sengoku was taken aback. I think what Garp said makes sense. It will no longer block. It's just this opportunity to find out Ron's strength and make arrangements for the war. This is not a bad thing. If this Ron's strength is not as good as Marine Admirals, then you can let Kong be replaced by another person. After all, fighting in that kind of scene, advertisement. If the foreign aid is not as good as Admiral, then there is no point in not requesting foreign aid. You can't listen to Kong's side words about this kind of thing. What if Kong said that the army is the strongest in 800 years is just an exaggeration? The battle with Whitebeard is about the transformation of the world. And the survival of Marine. This is sloppy. The strength of every combatant must be figured out personally. Only in this way can we be fully prepared for the next battle. Thought of here, Sengoku decided to be a viewer and not intervene. Kizaru cocked his mouth and touched his chin. See, Sengoku acquiesced. He looked at this side with interest. It looks like something interesting is about to happen. Sakazuki is really angry this time, and I watched a good show. It's terrible. Aokiji was as calm as ever. I looked at the half of ivory on the ground. I was thinking too. Marine Admiral and Army Admiral, who is better? If you change to yourself, can you kill Jack the Drow so quickly? In fact, the strength of the three admiral is not the same. If Kizaru and Akainu are the first echelon, then Aokiji is the second echelon. Regarding the age of enlistment, Aokiji is a few years later than the two of them. Kizaru and Akainu have been called monsters in Marine since they first joined the army. It's just that Kizaru suddenly fell and became a big jerk, but this does not mean that his strength is poor. In the crowd, only Tashigi stepped back subconsciously. On the ship before, after experiencing Ron's battle up close, Tashigi knew Ron's strength better than anyone in the room. When Ron shot, not only was the enemy afraid, but also his own people. At that time, the seawater evaporated the hot water vapor, almost steaming Tashigi. Tashigi didn't dare to stay close to Ron's combat range anymore. Kizaru glanced at Tashigi. Hey, what are you doing? You don't have to step back that far. Tashigi lowered his voice, for fear that Ron Admiral would hear it. After all, this guy looks fierce. What if he hears himself talking about him behind his back and hates himself? Tashigi whispered. Advertisement, too close, you will get burnt. Kizaru didn't care. I thought that what Tashigi said was easy to be burned by Akainu's lava fruit. I never thought that Tashigi was talking about Ron. I have been colleagues with Akainu for so many years. Of course, I know how terrifying the temperature of Akainu's magma is. Not to mention being hit directly, even if you are nearby, you will get burned by the heat wave. So, for Tashigi's move back, can also understand. But I don't have to step back. After all, he is light, for this kind of temperature is naturally acceptable. At the same time, I feel that Tashigi doesn't need to make a fuss, and Aokiji is here anyway. If magma really spreads over for a while, Aokiji builds an ice wall, which can also keep the heat away. They will not be hurt by the heat of battle. Recruit is recruit, so it is easy to make a fuss. With so many top marines on the scene, it can still make you little girl injured. Kizaru cocked his mouth. He didn't take Tashigi's little move to heart. Instead, he focused his attention on Akainu, because Akainu moved. I saw Akainu's lower body turned into magma. The whole body soars into the sky, strong magma concentrated on the right arm. A wave of heat, scattered from Akainu. The air instantly became anxious. Sela, the extremely hot red magma, when Akainu was flying in midair, dripped from the arm, falling on the ground, burned the slate through instantly. It can be seen how outrageous the temperature is. Even if the distance is long, everyone can also feel a wave of heat hitting their faces. Akainu dare not care. Since he decided to fight, he must go all out. The first is the super single skill. Dark Hound, Chapter 7, auto-generated chapter title. 007. A player playing magma, but let the other party scream hot? Akainu is too serious, right? The crane staff frowned. Said with some worry. This is just a discussion between colleagues. Is it necessary to use big tricks as soon as they're used? If you hurt your colleagues in the army, it's not easy to explain, right? After all, they came to help. The crane staff was a little unhappy. Kizaru rubbed his chin suspiciously. Small voice. Don't even avoid it? Are you planning to force the next move? Akainu's Dark Hound is not so easy to follow. Even an old man would not choose to confront head-on. Seeing that Dark Hound was about to attack, Ron was still standing there. This makes Kizaru very puzzling. Does he not know how powerful Akainu is? Even Aokiji, who has always been relatively calm, can't help but frown. This army Admiral Ron, too underestimated the enemy, right? How did you become Admiral so underestimated? Could it be said that the life of the army is so easy that it caused their Admiral to lose basic combat awareness? Let alone the power of Akainu's attack. It's just this hot magma. It hurts when you touch it, and you die when you touch it. Even armament hockey can't completely isolate this temperature. And look at Ron now. Obviously, he chose to fight Akainu in close combat. This is simply the most unwise move. I really don't understand. How can an Admiral not even have these basic judgments? Sengoku and Garp also glanced at each other. The two of them didn't know much about Ron's fighting style. But obviously, based on the 2 decades of combat experience to analyze. Among all the solutions to Akainu, the one Ron chose was undoubtedly the most wrong. It also seems to be the most stupid, unless his strength can absolutely crush Akainu. But is this possible? To reach their level, in fact, the strength can't be too far apart. However, just between everyone's doubts, Akainu's Dark Hound has come to Ron with the heat that melts everything. And Ron still didn't make any evasive actions, so arrogant. Kaido's contempt. Advertisement makes Akainu even more unhappy. Is this looking down on my attack? Isn't my attack worthy of letting you dodge? In this case, then don't blame my subordinates for being merciless. Akainu shouted. The temperature of the magma rose again by a few minutes. And the arm that turned into magma at a faster speed. He slammed Ron away. I don't believe you don't avoid it. Akainu is full of firepower. Lang hummed. He felt the temperature of the magma at such a close distance. He should have avoided it? Several other admiral, including Garp and Sengoku, think so too. However, boom, there was a loud noise. Akainu only felt his arm hitting something hard. Unexpectedly, he couldn't move anymore, after the billowing smoke dissipated. A huge figure, muscles burst all over, and he looked down at him like this. Akainu was surprised, a strong sense of oppression. Akainu felt as if facing a big mountain. The tall person in front of him seemed to be a huge phantom behind him. There was a trace of fear in Akainu's heart, he only found out at this moment. The reason why his arm was unable to attack any further forward was that the army admiral was holding his fist firmly. As calm and relaxed as an adult grabbing the fist of a disobedient child. But that is the high-temperature magma that is enough to melt everything, a fist. Was this man caught in his hand abruptly? How is this possible? Akainu can see at a glance, the opponent didn't even use armament haki. How did he resist this high temperature? Is it only by the power of the flesh? Are you kidding me? This is magma, not cotton candy. Catch it? It's no use of armed color, hands? Garp and Sengoku looked at each other again, and both saw horror in each other's eyes. This is very ridiculous. Okay, this is no longer a question of whether strength is strong or not, it goes against common sense. That's hot magma. Even if you use an armed color, it won't make people so surprised. Aokiji. Hiss. Advertisement Kizaru. Huh? Crane staff officer. Even if it takes full advantage, Ron's expression is still the same as Gujing Wubo. Just look at Akainu. What an indifferent expression. Akainu felt extremely contemptuous. The other person looked at his eyes and the face without the slightest expression. Arrogant. The arrogance of not treating yourself as an opponent at all. This makes Akainu more angry. Immediately, fist caught by Ron. Change moves instantly, from Dark Hound directly to Great Eruption. The so-called Great Eruption is first, turn the arm into a huge lava fist made of lava, and then simulate the impact of the volcanic eruption to launch the fist. Powerful enough to instantly crush and evaporate a large iceberg dozens of times larger than the giants. Kizaru. Aokiji did not expect the situation to develop to this point. Sakazuki is going to use that trick? At such a close distance, is this going to burn the other person to death? However, when Great Eruption just finished accumulating power, it erupted. Sudden, Ron grabbed Akainu's hand and burst into a fiery light at the same time. It's like the sun suddenly appeared from the hand. The merciless sun instantly wrapped the Great Eruption together with the arm of the red fist. A hot ball of light like the sun, starting from Ron's palm. Half of Akainu's body was submerged. The so-called Great Eruption was swallowed by this fiery light. So dazzling, everyone has not yet reacted from this sudden change. I only heard Akainu's heart-piercing cry and called out. What? Hot. It's hot. Akainu only felt that half of his body was about to be burned. The intense burning sensation made him couldn't help howling. Garp, Sengoku. The crane staff, Aokiji, and Kizaru looked dumbfounded, and even wondered if they had heard it wrong. At the same time exclaimed, hot? What? Akainu is a lava fruit capable person. You said it's hot? How is this going? Did we hear that right? Chapter 8, auto-generated chapter title. 008. You are still far away, there is no way, your opponent is me. This kind of ending is also expected, you are way behind. Ron stared at the screaming Akainu, with no expression on his face and without the slightest wave of waves in his tone, he just said indifferently. Ron's goal is to kill the pirate, naturally it is impossible to kill Akainu here. Immediately, the magic was lifted, and the merciless sun disappeared instantly. The clothes on the half of Akainu's body have disappeared. The exposed arms, the skin has been burnt, a marine admiral. And it was magma demon fruit power, which was seriously injured by the burning. This sounds incredible, if it weren't for seeing it with your own eyes. Akainu and Sengoku would not believe it either, see Ron stop. The crowd gathered around now, looking at the tragic half of Akainu's body. If it lasts a while longer, I am afraid that half of Akainu's body will be burnt to ashes. But even so, they also knew that Ron had reserved his hands for the sake of being a soldier. Otherwise, Akainu must die now. Kizaru saw this scene. I couldn't help turning his head to look at Tashigi. He didn't understand until this moment. What does Tashigi's sentence, you get too close, you will get burnt, what does it mean? It turned out that the little girl was not talking about being burned by Akainu. Instead, refers to being burned by Ron. It seems that this little girl has also seen this scene on that ship. The funny thing is that I laughed at her making a fuss and making a fuss. Kizaru couldn't help but touch his chin, seeing that the other party has let go of himself. Akainu also relieved armament haki. Everyone found out. It turned out that Akainu had already used armament haki to defend hard. Even so, it caused such a serious injury. High-level armament haki, coupled with the body of the magma devil fruit ability, still can't resist this kind of high temperature. What kind of capable person is this Army Admiral Ron? Sengoku immediately called the medical soldiers. Quickly, take Sakazuki down for treatment. Sengoku took a deep breath. Is this the one that Kong praised, the strongest man in the army in 800 years? Really worthy of the name. It seems that he left only one ivory in Jack's second, and Tashigi's description of evaporating the sea is really no joke. Sengoku knows exactly what Akainu's strength is. He is really the strongest marine admiral. It can burn Akainu, who is known for his fire abilities, to such an extent. Advertisement. What kind of ability is this guy? Is it the upper fruit of lava fruit? Never heard of magma devil fruit and high-ranking fruits. However, anyway, fortunately, such a strong person is not an enemy. It's a companion. This immediately makes people feel at ease. Sengoku decided to make a direct announcement shortly to make public the news of Ace's public execution. And set a date, just half a month later, with Ron. Now Sengoku doesn't worry anymore. The foreign aid I invited is really beyond imagination. It was even stronger than the upper limit he expected. This allows his plan to be implemented immediately. There is Ron, plus the other admiral. Everyone works together. Presumably Whitebeard must have come back and forth. It is also enough to deter the other 3-4 emperors after the war, so that they dare not act rashly. It's just that this guy has a weird character, it's too arrogant. It's not easy to get along with. Soon, the medical soldiers ran over and put Akainu on the stretcher. At this moment, Akainu can no longer care about pain. He was full of Ron's indifferent face, plus the words like digging bones and poking heart. You are way behind. You're way behind. You're way behind. The last words Ron said to him kept echoing in Akainu's mind. This is more uncomfortable for him than the burn on his body. How could it be so bad, even if it is lying on a stretcher? Akainu always remembered the details of the battle. Obviously, I was suppressed by the opponent in terms of temperature. Is it because I have not developed enough lava fruit? But my own fruit abilities have already been awakened. Logia Devil Fruit awakens, but it is the most difficult. It stands to reason that it has reached the ultimate of Magma Devil Fruit. As the top Devil Fruit of the Fire Department, it is also the Devil Fruit with the strongest attack power. It is the highest rank among all Fire-type abilities. Theoretically, there can be no Devil Fruit that suppresses it. But why? It was suppressed by Ron's temperature just now. What is that fiery fireball like the sun? Is it Ron's Devil Fruit ability? Akainu was puzzled, originally thinking, this time Ron was given a slap in the face. Let him be a low-key person, advertisement, but I didn't think about it. But I was educated by the other party. Tang Marine's strongest admiral was defeated by an army admiral. And also left this sentence, you are still far short of it. Akainu was quite unwilling. It feels like Marine's face has completely lost him. This is equivalent to reaching out to give someone a slap, only to slap himself in the face. And from start to finish, judging from the other's demeanor and tone, he never regarded himself as an equal opponent. Arrogance from beginning to end. Add that sentence, you are still far behind. It stabbed Sakazuki's heart deeply. Akainu clenched his fists. Trying to think of a way to defeat Ron, you can't just lose to an army admiral like this. Before Akainu was taken away, he supported his body hard and looked at Ron. It seems to be saying, I will definitely be back. But Ron didn't even look at him at this time. It was just a defeat. Ron had no time to pay attention to him. Besides, this time the system prompt sound came. Congratulations to host. Defeat Marine Admiral Akainu and increase the progress of the template for the crime of arrogance by 10%. Current progress is 56%, now can use 56% of Ace Kano's power of arrogance. Ron couldn't help being overjoyed. Unexpectedly, the template progress increased so much at once. That's 10%. Defeating Jack not long ago has only increased by 5%. Sure enough, the stronger the defeated, the higher the progress of the template. I just didn't expect that defeating Marine Admiral can also gain progress. And in front of me, there are still 2 Marine Admirals standing. Ron couldn't help but look at these 2 Marine Admiral as if looking at Big Fatty. At this time Sengoku saw that Akainu had been carried down to heal. And it is also a preliminary understanding between the 2 parties. Because he was anxious, he went back and issued the announcement of the execution of Ace. So, saying, it's all gone. Staff Crane, you take Ron to the specially arranged VIP room to rest. As for the specific arrangements for the day, because Ron arrived at Marine on the first day after all, so let him rest for a day. Tomorrow all Marine executives will be called together for a meeting, and we will discuss again. All arrangements are completed, just about to leave. Unexpectedly, Ron spoke suddenly at this moment. Wait a moment. Aokiji and Kizaru stay. Chapter 9, Auto-generated chapter title. 009. Frozen fruit can't even release the ice in front of Ron? Marine is really a good place. Ron even liked it a little bit. Unexpectedly, in less than a day, I got 15% progress. This kind of efficiency really feels like flying. Now, Ron looked at Aokiji and Kizaru with his eyes on the prey. Let 2 people feel a cold back. Hey, Kuzan, don't stand next to the old man and use the freezing ability to make the old man feel cold all over. Kizaru said to Aokiji with a crooked mouth. Aokiji's face went dark. Very speechless. You are cold and I am still cold. I don't have the ability to activate fruit at all. Aokiji said angrily. This feeling of chills in the back was basically pressured by the man in front of them. Aokiji can't seem to remember. I haven't felt this way for many years. That kind of powerlessness to face the top power. I don't know what Ron said suddenly, leaving them both behind? Could it be that this guy is arrogant to this level? In full view, Akainu was seriously injured and did not stop. Actually began to extend the magic hand to the 2 of them? Is it too much? Really, Marine Admiral, is it bullied? If so, Aokiji doesn't mind showing him a little color. Sengoku hasn't left yet, because he found something was wrong with the atmosphere. If Akainu was in trouble just now, it was at best the first meeting between the 2 parties. But anyway, after fighting once, there is no need to start another incident. I have already ordered each to go back to each house. At this time, Army Admiral Ron suddenly stopped the other 2 Marine Admiral. Although the Army Admiral does not need to listen to Marshal Marine's words. But, did he do this too badly for himself? Even the arrogant character? This is a bit too much, right? Upon seeing the crane staff. Walked over to round the field, said, "If you have time to learn from each other, let's talk about it in the future. Little friend Ron is bumpy and tired along the way. It's better to take you to rest first." However, the Crane staff never expected it. Ron didn't even look at her. He just looked at Aokiji and said, "It's you, frozen kid. The battle is over if you haven't moved your body just now. I hope you can hold on a little longer." Advertisement. Arrogant. Unabashedly arrogant. Injured Akainu like that, and even said that he didn't move his body. "And next year, I will be younger than myself, so I will call myself Frozen Imp." Call to provoke yourself. Even Aokiji, who has always been calm, is in anger at the moment. How arrogant this is. It's true that no one in Marine can do it. This moment, Aokiji finally realized Akainu's mood. Unexpectedly, such an arrogant generation appeared in the army. First came to Marine headquarters. Let's not say that it's going to do what the locals do. The most basic kindness is always necessary. But what about this guy, with a condescending look? The first time we met, a Marine admiral was hit hard. Although Akainu took the initiative to pick things up, so Akainu is seriously injured and he is not familiar with him. But this guy is endless. It didn't stop. In fact, Ron really wasn't for this reason. Ron just wanted to use these admiral to increase his progress, but his arrogant attitude really made these Marine admiral angry. "Ron, you." Sengoku's face was a bit ugly, and he was also Martial Marine, who seemed to be a bit shameless. Somehow he couldn't get off the stage, just thought of a word to reprimand Ron. Unexpectedly, Aokiji suddenly stood up at this moment. "Interrupted myself. Marshal Sengoku, don't worry about this. Let me meet this guy. I also want to know why our brother troops have such confidence." Aokiji took off his blindfold, changed the color of laziness before. Walked slowly towards Ron. When Sengoku heard the words, he could only give up. Since both sides agreed, the young Marines discussed with each other. As an older generation of Marine, there is no excuse for blocking. After all, it can be seen from the battle between Ron and Akainu. Ron still has a sense of measure. Aokiji nodded to Sengoku. Let the other party rest assured. Aokiji is not a reckless man, and he does not fight insecure battles. The reason why I dared accept Ron's discussion. It's all because of careful analysis. It is currently known that Ron's ability is high temperature, which is higher than Akainu's magma temperature. And oneself is the ability to freeze. It can be said to be the natural nemesis of heat damage. Ron, who can suppress Akainu with temperature, does not mean that he is also his opponent. Under frozen fruit. No matter how high the temperature is, it can freeze him. Kizaru touched his chin, tilted his mouth, and looked at Ron, with some doubts. Advertisement. I don't know if it is an illusion. How do you feel that Ron's body is a bit stronger than before? Looking at the current situation, it seems that after Aokiji finishes playing, he is himself. It's really troublesome. It seems that we can't leave work on time today. Isn't this Ron the undercover agent sent by Whitebeard? Before the war, I fought Admiral all over. Ron looked at Aokiji. Pokerface. Ron, whose progress in the Crime of Pride template has reached 56%, is now 1 point closer than before. Even this body is stronger than before. The control of the sun's magic has gone to a higher level. Ron walked towards Aokiji step by step, very slow. But every time Aokiji took a step, Aokiji felt a huge pressure and struck him. As the hot sun in the sky is constantly approaching him. The opponent is obviously human. Why give yourself the illusion of facing the sun? No, it's too late if you don't make another move. Aokiji groaned. Ice Age, cross your arms at the same time. Prepared to activate the frozen skill. However, he suddenly discovered that there was no ice around him. How is this going? Why didn't my own Ice Age work? Where's the ice? Watching Ron get closer and closer. Aokiji frowned. Give a low voice again, Ice Age. However, there is still no ice appearing. Aokiji was blinded. Where's the ice? Kizaru watched Aokiji make a noise there, but didn't let go of his skills. I don't know what Aokiji is doing, so he asked aloud. Huh? Kuzan, don't just shout, do something. Aokiji gave Kizaru angrily. Still use your beep? Aokiji feels bitter too. Do you think I am willing to shout? I don't know what's going on, but I can't get out of the ice. He himself wanted to ask, where's the ice? Chapter 10, auto-generated chapter title. 010. Ice cannot face the sun directly. Unhurried footsteps. Gradually approaching. At the same time, the sense of oppression is growing. The cold sweat on Aokiji's head came out, seeing that Ron was less than 3 steps away from himself. And under his full excitation, he couldn't even use any freezing ability. This is Aokiji. The first time I have encountered this situation since I ate frozen devil fruit. Is it possible that one's own fruit ability has failed? In this way, the opponent's ability is not high temperature, but a ability that prevents the opponent from using the fruit ability? Aokiji's mind was spinning quickly. It's just that people around him don't understand his special predicament. In the eyes of the beholder, this is what I saw. Aokiji yelled there, but didn't let go of skills. Is it to use the skill name to scare the opponent away? It really makes everyone confused. It wasn't just Kizaru who had this question just now. Even Sengoku is at a loss. Don't know what this Aokiji is doing. Obviously he took the initiative to invite Ying to challenge. Why didn't he take the initiative? Shouting skills there. What is this for? Isn't it embarrassing? Garp is straightforward, frowning, looking at the two in Bidu with a puzzled expression. Aokiji was his little follower before. Among these people, the one who knows Aokiji best is Garp. It can be said that Garp brought Aokiji with one hand. But even so, Garp can't figure out what Aokiji is doing now. As a frozen fruit-capable person, Aokiji's best way to fight is to control the enemy in the middle and long range. And now, the opponent is almost walking up to him. Aokiji didn't even send out a freezing attack. This guy, wouldn't he have forgotten how to use the fruit power? Garp couldn't help but reminded. Kuzan, where's your ice? Aokiji can't tell, he also wants to know his ice. Under tremendous pressure, this is what Aokiji's brain reverberates. Where is your ice? Where's the ice? Advertisement. Ice? Aokiji shook his head sharply, trying to drive away the voice in my mind. But looking at Ron standing in front of him, he already knew that he had lost. If you can't use your power, if you continue to struggle, it's just a show of ugliness. And at the moment, Ron looked at Aokiji with a stunned expression. It seems that this frozen kid hasn't figured out what is going on yet. Ice cannot face the sun directly. Ron's tone was flat, without any emotion. One hand was ready to pat Aokiji's shoulder. The outcome has been determined. Unexpectedly, this time the system suddenly prompted. Congratulations to host for defeating Aokiji. But with the same template defeating Marine, there is only one chance to increase the progress. Currently, the template for host's crime of pride has successfully received the reward for defeating Marine. So defeating Aokiji this time will not increase progress. When host uses the new template, defeat Marine again to increase the progress. Of course, if you kill the pirate, there is no limit. Heard that, Ron Gujing Wubo's face suddenly changed. Somewhat unhappy, he asked in his heart, next time you have this situation, report to me in advance. Don't forget, who is the master? How arrogant, knowing my master, I will not take it as an example. Even the cold mechanical sound couldn't help being respectful. Even the system found out. As the progress of Ron's crime of pride template increased, Ron's arrogance level also increased. Aokiji naturally didn't know that Ron was talking to the system in his heart. It was just that Ron's hand was about to pat his shoulder. And Ron's expression, from the previous Gujing Wubo, suddenly became fierce. What Aokiji is best at is seeing, hearing, and seeing. He saw a short future. Now, a picture flashed through my mind. In the picture, Ron's hand is patted on his shoulder. And half of his body melted instantly. This terrible picture directly made Aokiji shiver. When he recovered, but he saw that Ron's hand didn't drop. That's it for today. Xiaohei, take me to my place to rest. Ron put his hands down. He did not continue to watch Aokiji. Instead, he said to the crane staff on the side, advertisement. Ron's expression returned to that old well, but it made people feel arrogant. Crane? Staff Crane almost thought he had heard it wrong. How arrogant is this young army admiral? He actually called a person who could be his grandmother in terms of age as Xiaohei. Does this arrogant guy always treat them as juniors? The battle between Ron and Aokiji ended suddenly. Sengoku and Garp haven't been relieved from the doubts in the battle. I heard Ron call Crane's staff as Xiaohei. This made the two old guys almost spit out their breakfast in one bite. Really arrogant to the bones. This young army admiral, it seems really difficult to get along with. The two old men looked at each other and smiled bitterly. The thought of getting along with such an arrogant fellow before heading to the war made these two well-informed old men feel a headache. I don't know if the combat meeting tomorrow morning will be held smoothly. Ron, what if you don't obey the arrangement? Looking at this arrogant character, I am afraid it is difficult to communicate. Disperse separately. Only Aokiji stood there blankly. Before Kizaru left, he didn't forget to come over and ask again. Kuzan, where's your ice? In the end, Aokiji scolded him away. In retrospect, until Ron said to him, ice, you can't face the sun. Aokiji had an epiphany. Only then did I understand how ridiculous my previous thoughts were. Before the battle, Aokiji thought that Ron had suppressed Akainu by heat. And his own frozen fruit is exactly the nemesis of all heat attacks. Magma, Aokiji can also be frozen. So for Ron who can suppress magma, Aokiji also thinks that he can also be suppressed with his freezing ability. But Aokiji forgot a little. That is, freezing can restrain heat. But in turn, the same is true. Heat can also restrain freezing. And the reason why his own frozen fruit was not activated just now was because it was suppressed by the opponent's heat. Is he really the sun? Watching Ron's back drifting away. Aokiji looked down at the icicle that finally appeared in his hand. Muttered. Ice, really can't face the sun directly. Chapter 11, auto-generated chapter title. 011. Good commander is hard to control, Sengoku calls Kong for advice. Sengoku watched Ron return to his residence with his own eyes. Then he left with peace of mind, according to Ron's arrogant character. Sengoku was really afraid that he would come out again. Therefore, watch him enter the VIP lounge, which is relieved. Dismissed the crane staff who had been complaining about Ron's arrogance, and then sent away Garp who was related to Ace. Sengoku returned to the office. Immediately, I couldn't wait to draft a notice about Ace. Sengoku wrote it personally, which shows how important it is to this matter. I witnessed Ron's strength with my own eyes. This gave Sengoku a lot of confidence. Originally, I had to wait for Shing Ace after the arrangement was made, but because of Ron's joining, it could be advanced. Sengoku thinks with his heels, and everyone knows that Ron has at least doubled his winning percentage by joining this. After handling everything, Sengoku immediately called the secretary Branu, the green-haired marine known as the Meeting King. Although he has his own independent position, he also serves as the Secretary General of Sengoku. Immediately notify the copy and distribute it through various channels. Brandy took the file in Sengoku's hands. Take a quick glance. Handshakes. Almost fell to the ground. This. Marshal Sengoku, are you going to take action on 4 Emperors Whitebeard so soon? As a middle-level marine at Marine, Branu has been in and out of high-level meetings, and his experience is bound to be extraordinary. He knows very well, once this report was sent out, it would be equivalent to declaring war with 4 Emperors Whitebeard. This is Marine's biggest move in decades. I didn't expect to send it out from my own hands. Sengoku nodded. The time has come. Now is the best time to deal with the 4 Emperors. Don't froze here, take the files in your hand, and do what you should do. Yes. Branu stood attentively, saluting a standard Marine military salute with excitement. This is a moment that will be recorded in history. It is also a great honor to be able to make this announcement. Of course Brandy was excited, when Brandy left the office. Sengoku dialed the number of the army headquarters again. Sengoku is the resourceful general after all. Everything must be considered thoroughly. Don't miss any omissions. So, before tomorrow's combat mobilization meeting, Sengoku has one more thing to ask Kong. Advertisement. Toot toot, the call is connected. This is Sengoku, transfer me to Marshal Kong's office. Sengoku didn't wait for the other person to inquire, and immediately spoke first. After all, he is the commander-in-chief of the army. Busy on official business. All matters of the size of the army basically have to be in charge of Kong. Therefore, in order to share the work pressure, the phone number of the Generalissimo's office is not only directly connected to the World Z House. Other lines must first go to the call room, and then decide whether to go to Kong's office based on the priority. As soon as the operator in the call room heard it was Marshal Marine, he immediately connected to Kong's office. It's Sengoku, how about it? I'm satisfied with the person I transferred to you. Kong's voice came from the phone. Whenever he mentions Ron, Kong's tone is always unconscious and he becomes very proud. Hey, Marshal. I'm looking for you to talk about this. The man has arrived. Kong, have you seen his strength? Sengoku has a black line on his face. It's not just that I've seen it before, it's really impressive. Now his Marine Admiral is still lying in the ward. How about it, are you satisfied? Kong laughed. Can't hide the show-off. In fact, he guessed what Sengoku was doing this call. After all, a good commander is hard to control. Ron, the Army Admiral, is too strong. Caused Sengoku's heart to lose his mind. I'm afraid Ron won't listen to orders. Therefore, Kong knew early on that as long as he saw Ron's strength, then Sengoku would definitely make this call. As predicted, older gingers are more spicy. It really made Kong guess right. Sengoku's purpose for making this call is really for this matter. The situation is urgent right now. Sengoku doesn't go in circles anymore. Speaking directly, unexpectedly, such a monster appeared in the army. I have seen his strength. I'm so satisfied. If it weren't for his arrogant and ultimate character, I would really like to apply with you, so I just leave him at Marine as a Marine Admiral. Kong's tone changed immediately. That won't work, old man. I won't let go. He will take my place in the future. It's easy to talk with someone, and someone has an interview. Sengoku paused after hearing this. Unexpectedly, Kong would take Ron so seriously. This is to train him to become a commander-in-chief. Advertisement, but Ron's arrogant character, what kind of style should it be to be a commander-in-chief? Sengoku shook his head. Cannot imagine. Kong, this Ron is good at everything. It's this character, too arrogant. The old man is really afraid of tomorrow's mobilization meeting. He will come out to spoil the situation. Sengoku still decided to go straight to the subject. Speak out your worries. After all the Marine executives will be there tomorrow. What if Ron's hands are itchy like today? Is it possible to have another fight with all the Marine executives? Moreover, the battle schedule should Ron not cooperate. Even if none of the above happened, with Ron's arrogant character, other people will be angered invisibly, and it is difficult not to conflict with any high-level person. For example, today's sentence Xiaohei, he has not eased the anger of the staff of the crane until now. Sengoku finished speaking, did not expect, Kong only replied a word. When will the mobilization meeting start tomorrow? Sengoku was taken aback. I don't understand why Kong would say something, and he couldn't deal with his question. But he answered truthfully, 8 o'clock in the morning. Kong nodded, then continued, then you don't have to worry about it. But there is one thing you must pay attention to, don't blame the old man for not reminding you. Remember, the meeting must be over before 11 o'clock. Don't delay until 12 o'clock, remember? Kong hung up after speaking. Sengoku listened to it in the cloud and missed. Have said 3 in a row to remember, what do you mean? Why must it end before 11 o'clock? Don't let yourself drag until 12 o'clock noon. Does this have anything to do with the question I asked? The old man asked how to prevent Ron from making trouble in the meeting. Is this old man Kong confused? What are you talking about here? What does this have to do with when? Sengoku thought about it all afternoon, but didn't understand. I can only order the secretary first, follow the list to notify the Marine executives who will be attending tomorrow, and be there on time. And inform them that they will introduce a new partner to them tomorrow, and the content of the meeting is about the strategic plan to deal with Whitebeard. Therefore, everyone must be present. Otherwise, it will be dealt with by military law. Chapter 12, Auto-generated chapter title. 012. The big news that shocked the world, the public execution of Ace, the Assembly of Combat Power. Early the next morning, a newspaper with information on Ace's execution. Passing seagulls, sent to all parts of the world. This day is destined to be a restless day. No one thought that Marine was the first to break this balance. The big names of the world, now, holding this newspaper, which represents the new trend of the world, in both hands. All had their own calculations. Blackbeard, the promoter of the event, sat on a raft. Holding a newspaper in one hand, holding cherry pie in one hand. Laughing. Thief ha 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 ha, thief ha 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 ha. Unexpectedly, Sengoku, this guy, is quite courageous, he really did it. Blackbeard said loudly. Even if the surrounding waves were turbulent, Blackbeard was still sitting on the raft unmoved, just enjoying the situation he had facilitated. All because he gave Ace to Marine. Actually, this is also the direction Blackbeard has been looking forward to from the beginning. If Sengoku doesn't make this decision, then Blackbeard can be said to have been in vain. After all, he is very ambitious, busy for a long time. It's not to get a mere Shichibukai position. Blackbeard wants more than that. His target is One Piece, but One Piece, even more. However, this situation in which the four emperors carve up the new world is really not conducive to his rise. There must be chaos to create opportunities. Blackbeard was very satisfied with the result today, but Blackbeard did not expect that Sengoku would make a decision after only one day. This guy Sengoku is such a courageous person. This is a small doubt. But it doesn't matter, just wait for Whitebeard to hit Marineford and then take advantage of the mess. Boss Teach, it seems that our goal has been half achieved. Poison Q smiled gloomily. Blackbeard. Yes, 10 days from now. Thieves ha ha ha, it's coming, it's coming. I saw the newspaper in Blackbeard's hand, amazingly written, 10 days later, executed at Marineford Ace. A certain sea area in New World, gum la 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 la. Even the location was written, so I didn't hide my purpose, Sengoku. Advertisement with a big laugh, the huge waves in the surrounding sea shook the sky. In a huge wave, a big ship like a beluga whale, the Mobile, was parked there like a mountain. It is the Whitebeard Pirates. Ranked among the four emperors of the New World, Edward Newgate, known as the strongest man in the world, was laughing while he was receiving a liquid at the moment. Father. This Ace. Under Whitebeard, the first team captain Marco clenched his fists angrily, and his hand with the newspaper violent. Gula la la. Sengoku's purpose is undisguised. The time and place are written so generously. If I don't go to the banquet, father, I really can't help him for his pains. Whitebeard's eyes suddenly chilled. Murderous. To dare to move his son is to offend Newgate's only inverse scale. Even if it's Marine headquarters, Whitebeard didn't mind going to the door and rescued Ace. Father, give your order. Mason Joes clenched his fists and said. Captain of the 1st Division, Captain of the 3rd Division, Captain of the 5th Division. They all stared at the old man closely. As long as the father gives an order, they will demolish Marineford and rescue Ace. Gula la la la, 10 days, it also happens to be time for us to gather combat power. Notify. Let the guys who are distributed in New World come and gather. Follow the old man, kill to Marine headquarters together, rescue Ace. Such incredible words can only be said by the strongest man in this world, and there will be no sense of disobedience. Follow Dad and rescue Ace. Follow Dad and rescue Ace. Suddenly shouting all around. The blood of the entire Whitebeard group was ignited. It can be seen how terrifying Whitebeard's cohesion is. Wanokuni, the island of ghosts. Tear off the newspaper. Kaido frowned. Facing Quinn, angrily said, why did such a big event happen? That guy Jack didn't get any news back. Quinn is happy because Jack is not here. Suddenly being scolded by Kaido, he couldn't help but shiver. It is true that no news has been sent back for 2 days. Jack, what is this guy doing? This guy is not in an accident, is it? Could it be that Marine was caught by him? No, unless Admiral is dispatched in person, it is impossible to catch Jack with Marine's trash. Boss Kaido, I will contact Jack that be asterisk 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 D. Kaido picked up the wine gourd and poured it into his mouth suddenly. Then drunkly said, let this rubbish come back quickly. 10 days later, the old man Whitebeard will definitely go to Marineford, then let's go and make a fuss too. Advertisement New World, an island somewhere. Redhead Shanks looked at the newspaper and fell into deep thought. Ben Beckman, what do you think? The man on the side is Ben Beckman, who is known as the smartest. It's not that simple. Marine made it clear that this is to introduce Whitebeard into the urn. The red hair nodded. Yes, Whitebeard must be able to see it too. Even if he knows it is a set, he will definitely go. Ben Beckman. But what is even more bizarre is this announcement from Marine. Shanks. What do you mean? Is there anything strange about this announcement? Ben Beckman. The blame is that it posted so quickly. It's impossible for Sengoku not to do enough to prepare for an announcement on such a big thing as a public match against Whitebeard. But, the day after he caught Ace, he drafted this Ace execution statement, which is equivalent to declaring war on Whitebeard without preparation. Is it possible? So I think Sengoku should have found a strong helper, so Sengoku can't wait to declare war on Whitebeard. Think of someone who Sengoku can mobilize, who has this ability and he can mobilize. There is only one I can think of. When Ben Beckman said this, he paused and looked at the redhead. Shanks didn't expect Ben Beckman to analyze so much from a newspaper. Worthy of being the most powerful brain, Shanks looked at Ben Beckman and asked subconsciously. Who? Shanks, do you remember that 1 month ago, that man killed Admiral of the Southern Army of the Revolutionary Army? Shanks took a breath after hearing the words. The memory slowly pulls back. At that time they happened to be in South Blue, happened to save a dying Revolutionary Army floating in the ocean, and this was known from the population. At that time, the G-Life Army was at war with the CP-1 of World Z House. As a result, an army admiral passed by, one person, single-handedly, killed an entire corps of the Revolutionary Army, including a captain. He didn't even let CP-1 let go, and was killed by him. And the person they saved was the only survivor. At that time, Shanks left a deep impression. Unexpectedly, Ben Beckman could associate so much from a newspaper. Is it him? No, you must tell Whitebeard right away, and you must not make him impulsive. If Marine does find that guy, this time Whitebeard will definitely be fierce. Shanks woke up suddenly. Thanks to Ben Beckman, otherwise Sengoku would really calculate it. Thinking of this, Shanks decided to lead his men immediately. Set off immediately and go to New World to tell Whitebeard about this. I'm afraid Whitebeard doesn't know how terrifying this newly appointed army admiral is. Don't let Whitebeard throw himself into the net. Sengoku, this guy, can really hide, and he secretly asked this kind of monster to help. He must not be allowed to succeed. Must find a way to stop the impulsive Whitebeard. Chapter 13, Auto-generated chapter title. 013. The pre-war mobilization meeting, Ron Admiral with a sudden change of style. Early the next morning, it's 7:20, Marine Headquarters Medical Clinic. What? You said that fellow Aokiji was also defeated by the new Army Admiral. Ahem. Because I just heard the news, I was too emotional. So Smoker was involved with a stab wound on his chest. Smoker took a deep breath, almost cried out in pain. The attacks of these 3 plagues are really not a joke. The doctor heard movement here, walked over and took a look, and said angrily. It's a big fate for you to survive. You don't know how to heal your wounds, and you are still moving here. Do you know that if the wound is cracking once, you will be dead, and the gods will not be able to save them? Seeing that the ward next door is not there, Admiral is lying there and staying still, learning from them. Smoker nodded repeatedly. Means obedient, and you, don't irritate the patient, have you heard, he needs to rest now. If you do this again, I will get you out of the ward. The doctor glanced at Tashigi who had come to see him again, and said displeased ly. Yes, I must pay attention. Tashigi bowed apologetically to the doctor. The doctor left with satisfaction. The doctor just said that Admiral in that ward was Chief Akainu? Tashigi asked quietly. Smoker nodded, endured the pain, sat up with difficulty, lit a cigar, and then slowly said. Yes, it's Sakazuki. I heard from the doctor here that he was fighting Ron Admiral, and he was severely burned by the opponent. Tashigi nodded. Yes, I was there. Looking back now, Tashigi felt afraid for a while. The doctor said just now that I should follow him. Do you know why he is lying there still so quietly now? Smoker spit out smoke rings and asked. Tashigi shook his head and said, I don't know. That's because Sakazuki Admiral was so painful last night that he didn't sleep all night. Such a tough guy made his throat dumb because of the pain. In the morning, I was tired and fell asleep, so I lay there still. Smoker's ward, and Sakazuki's door to door. The doors are open now, so Tashigi can see the other side. Seeing that Sakazuki was wrapped in bandages on half of his body, soaked with blood. It is said that the skin there has been scalded, just imagine. Tashigi felt a chill in his back, so he didn't dare to think about it anymore. That is to say, Akainu Admiral is lava fruit. If this were replaced by ordinary people, it would have been burned long ago. Tashigi thought of the hapless Jack with only half of ivory left. Smoker felt that the injury he had received was really a skin injury compared to Akainu. Although I don't know why people with the ability of Logia lava fruit get burned. But, this army admiral is too ruthless to start. How to say Marine and Army are also brother units. Don't you keep a little bit of affection? This is why. When Smoker heard the news that Aokiji was also defeated by Ron, he would have such a big reaction. Aokiji is Smoker's friend. Akainu was hurt like this. Smoker didn't want to hear the news that his friend was also severely injured. By the way, you haven't told me yet, how is that guy Kuzan? Is the injury serious? Tashigi heard this advertisement, then I realized that Smoker was worried that his friend would end up with Akainu. So he said immediately, Chief Smoker, rest assured, Aokiji Admiral was not injured. Not at all? Well, nothing at all. That's good, I didn't expect Kuzan to be quite powerful. He could face off against that kind of monster and retreat all over his body without leaving any injuries. Tashigi thought for a while, wondering if he should tell Smoker the truth. Forget it, there is nothing to be ashamed of, after all, it was the monster that was facing. Then, Tashigi said, that Aokiji Admiral lost before he even shot. What? Smoker thought he had heard it wrong. No matter what, there will be no chance to shoot. As everyone knows, when Ron and Aokiji face off, they are much stronger than when Smoker first saw Ron take a shot. The first time Smoker saw Ron shot, it was the time when Jack was killed in a flash on the ship. Back then it was the 41% sin of arrogance template. In the duel with Aokiji, it was already 56%. Solving Jack and Akainu alone gave Ron a 15% increase. To be precise, Aokiji Admiral can't even use the freezing ability. Tashigi recalled the scene where Aokiji Admiral was shouting there, but there was no special effect. He couldn't help but feel Ron's terrible. Smoker sighed. I didn't expect this result, but anyway, it's fortunate not to be injured. Thinking about Akainu last night, Smoker got cold all over. Whispered. I don't know what kind of ability this Ron from the army has. Tashigi looked at his watch, his face changed. Oh, it's 7:30. It's too late, Sir Smoker, I have to go first. What are you going to do? Arrange the venue for the senior leaders. Today they're going to hold a strategy seminar. After Tashigi finished speaking, he ran out of the ward like flying away. Headquarters meeting room. Tashigi hurriedly, finally at 7:50, put all the marine bosses on the seats of the meeting necessities. This kind of meeting is not something she can participate in at her level, after all this is done. Just leave quickly, don't delay the meeting of the big guys. At this moment, the people in the conference room are already sitting in a hurry. Tashigi also took a look at Ron Admiral's location, and found that this terrifying monster hadn't come yet. Could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Tashigi now has a kind of Ron PTSD. In layman's terms, when he sees Ron, he thinks of Akainu, who is seriously injured, and Jack, who has only half ivory left. The resulting physical and psychological fear, after all. Ron, this guy, treating enemies and colleagues is so cruel. However, what is really afraid of? Tashigi didn't go far before he ran into Ron head-on. Frightened Tashigi almost fart, he sat on the ground. R.O. Ron Admiral, he hurriedly said hello, and was ready to drive away. After all, if the other party is an admiral, he won't pay attention to such a small shrimp. Moreover, Ron Admiral's personality is so arrogant, he would definitely not notice him. Advertisement Tashigi comforted himself, however. It's early in the morning, and it's not 8 o'clock in the morning. Tashigi just turned around, I heard Ron's voice behind him. Yeah, Tashigi, thank you for picking me up to Marine headquarters yesterday, it was a hard journey. The voice is very gentle, Tashigi even felt the spring breeze. Is this the same Ron Admiral from yesterday? What's up? Admiral talked to her, but Tashigi didn't dare not reply, she was just a little sergeant. Tashigi turned around nervously, looking carefully at Ron's handsome face. He smiled so sunny, Tashigi's heart thumped faster. The Ron in front of him was the same as she saw when she first picked him up from the headquarters of the Third Army. It's completely different from yesterday's strong image. Like a prince. No thanks, this is what I should do. Tashigi could feel his face a little red. Haha, what's the matter? Come in with me. After the meeting, I will treat you to a meal at noon. Ron said with a smile. This, am I right? Tashigi was blinded. This Ron Admiral. So gentle, could it be that I misunderstood what it looked like yesterday? But, Tashigi didn't dare to follow Ron's invitation. She doesn't even have the qualifications to listen to this kind of high-level meeting, let alone enter. Ron Admiral, I am not qualified to go in. Follow me, there is no place you can't get in yet, let's go. Tashigi. Still this familiar arrogance, it's just not as strong as yesterday. While Tashigi was puzzled, he walked in after Ron in a wicked manner. The venue was filled with everyone above Marine Vice Admiral. Now, all eyes were fixed at Ron, the battle yesterday. It spread to Marine early this morning, they were all wondering what kind of monster this Ron was. Just see you today, it's not as horrible as it is spread in private. Ron in front of him was like a noble son. Where is it so scary as they say? Sengoku stood in front of the stage, also looked dumbfounded. Heart. Where did Ron sing today? However, Sengoku kept in mind Kong's advice to him. Never delay the meeting until 12 o'clock. Although, Sengoku doesn't know why, but try to listen to Kong's suggestions. Chapter 14, auto-generated chapter title. 014. Let you not delay until 12 o'clock, you won't listen. Well, now that everyone is here, sit down. Sengoku looked around everyone. Suddenly saw a person who shouldn't be here, displeased in his heart. Why is my own subordinates so ignorant of the rules? Tashigi. Why are you here? This is a high-level meeting. You don't need you. Just wait outside. You will be called in when you need it. Sengoku frowned and said, Oh, Tashigi let out a cry. Got up, embarrassedly bowed to the people around. I apologize for delaying the meeting of other bigwigs. Then ready to leave, she knew it would be the result. This is a secret meeting of Marine senior management, how could she be qualified to come in? That is to say, Marshal Sengoku had a good temper and didn't care too much with himself. If you change someone, you will definitely be able to deal with it. I don't know why I got my head just now, and followed Ron Admiral in. Maybe it's just a polite way for others to let themselves in, how can they take it seriously? Tashigi secretly scolded himself for being so stupid that he couldn't tell the truth. Thinking of the gentle way Ron was talking to her, Tashigi couldn't help sighing. Shin said, it must have been taken away by the handsome appearance of Chief Ron, that's why he walked in a daze. Sit down. Seeing Tashigi really got up to leave, Ron was unhappy. I brought in Tashigi, is there any problem? Ron's tone was unquestionable. Still so arrogant, Sengoku was taken aback, it never occurred to him that Ron let her in. Now it's hard to do. According to the rules, this kind of meeting absolutely does not allow a sergeant to appear. Even Rear Admiral is not eligible, but Ron brought this in again. If you confront Ron. Sengoku thought about what Ron looked like yesterday and couldn't help but shook his head. He didn't want this strategy meeting to become a discussion meeting again. Thought for a while. We weighed the pros and cons. Never mind, the rules can be changed. This is Marine headquarters. He is the marshal, he has the final say. Isn't it non-compliance? It doesn't matter, just make an exception and let Tashigi sit here. Seeing Sengoku nodded, Tashigi sat down with an incredible expression on his face. I was horrified. As Marine, she knows how strict this kind of high-level meeting is. I have never seen Sengoku make an exception, did not expect. Today Ron Admiral said something, Marshal Sengoku made an exception for him. This is incredible, however, this is the first time she has participated in such a high-end conference. Think about it, I'm still a little excited. Glancing at the Army Admiral Ron sitting next to him, Tashigi thought to himself, this Admiral is too gentle today, and he is different from yesterday. Advertisement cough cough. Sengoku cleared his throat, indicates that the meeting has officially started. The audience fell silent for an instant. Presumably you already know the purpose and content of this strategic meeting, so I won't repeat them here. Everyone speaks freely, and if you have any ideas, please speak up as soon as possible. Who will come first? Sengoku is going to gather the best of Beijiya, and use a brainstorming approach to start a brainstorming. Then I'm going to throw some thoughts at it. Dolphin Vice Admiral, Admiral Candidate, stood up first, glanced at Momosagi Vice Admiral, Admiral Candidate, who was sitting not far away, and said, this time, although we have a strong foreign aid, but we must unite as much force as possible to maximize our combat power. Dolphin pursues Momosagi, which is no secret in Marine. So I always love to behave in front of Momosagi. Generally, in such high-level meetings, he would be the first to stand up and talk. Since sitting here, Dolphin has been listening to others saying how strong the foreign aid from this army is. Spike Akainu, suppress the rumors of Aokiji and so on. But when I saw it today, I was a little disappointed, it looked gentle and not as powerful as the rumors. This foreign aid did not bring much confidence to the Dolphin. So, he would say that he should try to win some combat power as much as possible. After all, the other party is Whitebeard, the man who claims to be the strongest. Sengoku heard that, also nodded. Dolphin continued, so I suggest calling Shichibukai over immediately. It's time for these guys to contribute. You can't keep occupying Shichibukai's name to make money and not contribute. When the Dolphin finished speaking, he sat down. Still not forgetting to give Momosagi a triumphant glance. It's just that Momosagi ignored him. Now, Momosagi's eyes kept wandering on Ron. Just because she visited Akainu in the infirmary this morning. Akainu happened to be suffering from gauze at the time. Momosagi glanced at the marks left by the extensive burns. My heart couldn't help being shocked. After hearing Akainu talk about the battle, Momosagi became more interested in this Ron. Although we met for the first time today, Momosagi couldn't figure out how this man who has no other characteristics besides being handsome, sunny, and gentle has such strength. Judging from his age, he seems to be younger than himself. Dolphin was a little upset at Momosagi's staring at Ron's performance. The army, the guy who was killed halfway, couldn't make it happen. It seems necessary at the end of the meeting. Go and warn this, little brother, from the army. Sengoku nodded. The Dolphin said it is very reasonable, and I thought of going together. This proposal passed. Next. Begin with the Dolphin. All of these Marine executives actively participated in the discussion. Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral. C-shaped encirclement, activate the institutional barriers of the inner bay. Ghost Spider Vice Admiral. How to bring them into the encirclement is very important. Virgo Vice Admiral. It is also important to detect where they appear. Maynard Vice Admiral. If I can, I suggest finding a way to separate the other members of the Whitebeard ship group and split them internally, so as to create more opportunities for us. Ronsa Vice Admiral. What if Whitebeard causes a tsunami? His fruit power is enough to flood Marineford in the sea. Aokiji stretched out his hand lazily and said, leave this to me, don't worry. The discussion is hot. Tashigi couldn't speak either, she found that Ron was almost asleep. Sengoku saw it too. So he said, Ron Admiral, what do you think, can you also talk about it? Ron waved his hand and said, I don't care, you can just hit yours, don't worry about me. In fact, Ron didn't care how they arranged it, and even Ron didn't expect them to take action. After all, there are so many pirates in the war, which is countless experience for Ron. Advertisement. It is estimated that a template can be directly filled. Ron wished that all the pirates belonged to him. As for Marine's decision to call Shichibukai over to help, it was even more dismissive. Tang Marine even asked the pirates to come and help, and he was ashamed and lost his home. Unexpectedly, it was even proposed as an excellent idea. Sengoku was taken aback, never expected Ron to be so easy to talk. This is different from Ron yesterday. Hearing Ron's answer, Aokiji couldn't help being stunned. When he sees Ron now, his mind automatically rang. Where's your ice? Where's ice? Where's ice? It is true that there are some sequelae. He thought Ron would not follow their suggestions at all, but he didn't expect to raise any objections today. Sengoku also felt relieved. See, Ron behaved normally. There is no tendency to disrupt the meeting at all. Gradually, Sengoku relaxed his vigilance. For a while, I forgot Kong's request. The discussion arose even more, from strategic deployment, personnel arrangements, Shichibukai dispatch, to all kinds of intrigues. Discussing, I ignored the meeting time. Kong repeatedly told him not to delay the meeting until 12 o'clock. But the discussion is full of fun, where can I pay attention to the time? Time is fast. It's just that second by second, 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Ding, it's already 12 o'clock now. However, the meeting is not over yet. The generals present here are all in their heads and they are all talking freely. Ah, it's noisy. At this time, a discordant voice interrupted everyone. Tashigi had a bad feeling, the voice was too familiar to her. Suddenly I heard, now, the sound of clothes tearing. Tashigi didn't dare to turn his head, that familiar feeling came back. The fear of Ron in my heart soared again, Tashigi almost cried. Half an ivory, seriously injured Akainu all came to mind. Ron's body was swelling. Tashigi was squeezed out and sat on the ground. Ron's body grew huge under the gaze of everyone, subsequently. I saw Ron expressionless, looking at the people with a look of low-level creatures, he said in a flat tone. For Whitebeard, just hide in the safe zone, don't mess with me. They die as many as they come. Chapter 15, Auto-generated chapter title. 015. Ron's arrogant speech, Shichibukai. Of course they were killed together. In the whole meeting. At the beginning, everyone paid attention to Ron, who was in the hotspot of rumors. That is because, most of the people were not at Marine headquarters yesterday. So I didn't witness the battle with my own eyes, but when they arrived at Marine headquarters in the morning, they heard Ron's rumors from every corner. Almost all the soldiers in the headquarters are talking about how powerful this admiral from the army is. So, these senior executives who have just been recalled to headquarters. With curiosity and doubt, Ron has been looking at him since he first entered the venue. But as the discussion progressed, the high levels present gradually realized that Ron was actually nothing special. Just sit there and don't speak or express opinions. So they have also raised questions in their hearts. Did this guy really defeat Akainu? I can't see it at all. And he was not as arrogant as the rumors said, he looked like an ordinary person, at best he was handsome. Therefore, when they discussed the passionately, they completely forgot this admiral from the army. But, just now, Ron's words directly pulled them to reality. Let the focus of the audience come down to Ron again. How arrogant this is. Only then can I say such arrogant words that are boundless. And why did this person's body shape change drastically from when he first came? Is this bursting muscle serious? The clothes are bursting? All of a sudden, all Marine executives who heard this sentence were all stunned. No matter how arrogant it is, there must be a limit. Moreover, the person in front of you, what he meant was to deal with the Whitebeard Pirates alone, so that none of them would interfere. Actually treat them Marine as a burden. Anyone who is bloody will be indignant when he hears this sentence. What's more, these Marine executives who are already very arrogant. You must know that those who can come to participate in the strategy conference are not ordinary people. Who isn't arrogant anymore? However, they found that their arrogance could be regarded as humble in front of the man in front of them. At least these pretentious Marine executives dare not say that one person is going to deal with the Whitebeard Pirates. Aokiji frowned now, as a visitor to yesterday's event. This feeling is too familiar to him. Advertisement. The man who brought him interfere yesterday is back again. It seems that this meeting cannot end peacefully. Now, who is going to be unlucky again? Kizaru had been fishing at this meeting and did not participate in any meaningful discussions at all. I thought it was time for lunch and the meeting was about to end. Unexpectedly, at this time, Ron suddenly stood up. Kizaru's instinctive feeling, someone will be unlucky again today. Oh, I hope that person is not himself, as Kizaru thought. He moved to the corner, reduced his sense of existence, and then closed his eyes and calmed down. He is an expert in fishing and avoiding trouble. Sengoku frowned. He didn't understand why Ron stood up suddenly at this time. And said such arrogant words that are boundless. Hasn't this guy agreed to their proposal just now? And I asked him specifically before. Ron also made it clear. Expressed support for Marine's plan. But why now I suddenly stood up and decided to make the Marine all go home and rest. He even threatened. Deal with Whitebeard and leave him alone. As if suddenly thinking of something, Sengoku looked at his watch in surprise. Found exactly 12 o'clock. It suddenly came to mind in my mind that Kong had asked him yesterday. Cannot help but slap his forehead. I forgot this time just because I was interested in discussing it for a while. Kong said 3 things in a row. Remember, let him never delay the meeting until 12 o'clock. Sengoku regretted secretly, and the meeting that he thought would go smoothly, he didn't expect that it would be over when it came to an end. It's all due to Ron's behavior just now being so harmless. So that he relaxed his vigilance. That's why I didn't notice the time. Oops. But Sengoku can't watch things go on like this. What is going to deal with the Whitebeard Pirates alone? Sengoku didn't believe it. It is impossible for him to truly implement it, so Sengoku said immediately. Ron Admiral, do you have any different suggestions for what we just made? If you have any, you can say it and we will discuss it again. The Whitebeard Pirates is not as easy to deal with as you think. Advertisement Sengoku already felt that he was euphemistic enough. Just say directly. You can't do it alone. Sengoku was also counted as going down Ron's steps. But what Sengoku never expected was that not only did Ron not take the steps, but he also smashed the steps. Ron was expressionless, and he pushed away the table in front of him. Said without emotion, "Does what you just said deserves to be called a proposal? Ask me any different opinions. A word, none of it agrees." Boom. Sengoku only feels the brain is congested. Almost fainted. Is Ron deliberately sabotaging their meeting? It's too much. Ron's words directly rejected the results of the 4-hour discussion by these Marine executives. It directly made the whole audience angry. Dolphin Vice Admiral was still the first to jump out, and said angrily, "What do you mean? Do you disagree with my suggestion of Shichibukai?" Dolphin believes that his proposal is simply the wisest of the entire meeting, so I was very dissatisfied that Ron even vetoed it together. Ron turned around, staring at this mime with indifferent eyes, but he glared hard and glared at Ron's Dolphin Vice Admiral. Said lightly, "In the whole meeting, this decision was the stupidest." Dolphin Vice Admiral almost stared out of his anger. Shichibukai's combat power doesn't need to be in vain, do you have a better way?" Ron was still expressionless, feeling extremely contemptuous. "Shichibukai? It's just a pirate, and of course I have to kill them all. Is there anything else worth discussing? Let the pirates help with Marine. You Marines are not ashamed. Our army can't afford to lose this person. The weather is good today, let's get rid of them in a while. These are all experience bars. How could Ron keep them? Wouldn't they keep them for the new year if he didn't kill them? Just take advantage of the sunshine today, it's better to kill a few first." Ron is so strong at this time, so strong that he wants to fight someone. The Dolphin was stunned, he never expected that Ron would give this answer. For a while, I didn't know how to answer the call. Is this man serious? When this kind of war is approaching? He didn't want to win over combat power, but instead made this approach to reduce one's own combat power. And, does he really plan to kill Shichibukai in a while? Chapter 16, auto-generated chapter title. 016. You Marines who dare not kill, I will kill strategic meeting room. Because of Ron's remarks, time seemed to freeze. These Marine executives all maintained their movements for the last second. They were shocked. It's really not astonishing, endless death. Momoshage finally saw the arrogance of this guy, this amazing remark. Even Momoshage, who had been preparing for a long time, was shocked to his brain. But, have to admit, Ron said most of Marine's voice. It's just this kind of thought, they never dared to express it. Of course, Momoshage is also included here. Shichibukai is indeed a pirate. Still the pirate that their Marine hates. The aversion to Shichibukai is no less than 4 emperors. But what can this be? They are the rights and qualifications granted by the world government. What can Marine do with them? What's more, Marine is often angry with Shichibukai. Even if Shichibukai commits a crime in front of him, Marine is not qualified to arrest them. Every time I watch them laugh and walk away, Marine can't do anything about it. Said to be Shichibukai, it is just a nice name, they are essentially pirates. And it's even more exaggerated than ordinary pirates. The behavior is worse, because they are legal plunder. There is World Z House for them to make a protective umbrella. As long as they are tied to World Political F for one day, Marine has nothing to do with them. If it wasn't for the situation, how could Marine be willing to be with the pirates? Momoshage bowed his head and sighed. Although Ron was very arrogant in his speech just now, Momoshage didn't know how to refute him. Because what Ron said, although out of date, it was not wrong. It's just that most people are afraid to say it, but after all, do you really dare to do this? Momoshage couldn't help but raised his head, staring at Ron's sturdy body with piercing eyes. After hesitating for a moment, he finally asked, "Behind Shichibukai is the global politics F. We Marine can't control him, but how about your army?" Momoshage's words are not finished yet. Ron was interrupted directly. "I care about things that Marine doesn't dare to kill. I'll kill people that Marine doesn't dare to kill." Arrogant. What an arrogance. Momoshage was shocked by these words and stepped back. Just staring at Ron blankly. This man, he is shining. Advertisement. It's not just Momoshage. Even the Dolphin who was stunned by Ron just now was in a trance for a moment. The tone of this guy didn't seem to be a joke, he really wants to do Shichibukai. The Dolphin took a breath. Force yourself to calm down. Just now, when Dolphin heard Ron said that his proposal was the stupidest decision. Still a face of disdain, he even thought of thousands of reasons to refute Ron. After all, regarding the maritime affairs, he knows a fart as an army. At the time, he believed that no matter what the army admiral had said, I can completely dispel what he has refuted, because of this situation at the moment. Winning Shichibukai into the battle is an essential step. But the Dolphin never expected, this army admiral named Ron, he actually said this. This makes it impossible to refute 1,000 words organized in his mind. This guy, he is serious, Dolphin has no doubt now. Once the meeting is over, Ron will really kill Shichibukai. World Z House is not working well. Sengoku couldn't tell whether Ron was here to help or to make trouble. Obviously the war is coming. At this time, if Ron chooses to act on Shichibukai, that would definitely push Shichibukai to the enemy's side. Even if Ron only killed one Shichibukai, then the remaining Shichibukai will not come to help Marine again. It's very simple, because they don't know if they come to Marine headquarters, is it considered a stubborn killer? Will they be the next to die? Lost the powerful combat power of Shichibukai? It will be a huge loss for the top war that may occur next. One ebb and flow. The Whitebeard Pirates is even more difficult to deal with. Sengoku didn't think Ron was joking at all. Although we just met yesterday, Sengoku could feel that Ron was not a joke. This guy definitely does what he said. After Sengoku decided to adjourn the meeting for a while, he must call Kong again. And for now, the most important thing is to stabilize the situation. Don't let Ron do anything wrong. So Sengoku looked at Ron and said very seriously. If you do this, it will make the situation just a few pirates. Ron interrupted Sengoku speechlessly. Sengoku's old face turned black. This arrogant guy really doesn't give himself face on any occasion. And Shichibukai's strength can't be called a mere pirate anyway, right? This force is used well, but it will dominate the battlefield. Advertisement, are you really going to kick him over to Whitebeard? However, in the Marine high-level sitting, there are other people who have moved their minds. Speaking of dealing with Shichibukai, some people can't sit still. It was Vice Admiral who was called to attend the strategy meeting. Because he has another identity, that is the highest cadre of the Don Quixote family. It's just that this identity has not been exposed so far, he hides it very well. None of Marine found out that he was an undercover agent sent by the pirates. It has even been reused by Sengoku many times, and they have achieved the position of Vice Admiral. Also served as the base chief of Marine G5 branch. Even Marshal Sengoku, known as the resourceful general, didn't notice any clues. Visible is Virgo's awesomeness. Ron's attitude towards Shichibukai worries him because of him. That's Don Quixote Doflamingo, that's Shichibukai. That's Virgo's master. Although Brother Veer hadn't seen Ron's strength, he didn't think that young master was not his opponent. So, he still needs to prevent this from happening. Ahem. Virgo coughed twice. Then stand up, facing Ron, his face was solemn, and he said in a deep voice. You are admiral from the army after all, and the wind and clouds on the sea are strange, you don't understand. So, don't confuse our marine decision. Shichibukai has nothing to do with your army. Just do your job well. Seriously cooperating with Whitebeard, this is the task you were seconded to this time. What Virgo said makes sense. These marine executives were awakened by a word. Although this Ron was eloquent, he was from the army after all. Run. What's causing trouble here, Marine? These are two completely different systems, and Marine's affairs are naturally handled by Marine. Ron turned his head. Looking at Virgo, his face was expressionless, but he couldn't help but feel happy. It turned out to be sent to the door and beaten. If this guy didn't take the initiative to jump out to brush up on his presence, Ron would really ignore the pirate. You, a pirate, is also worthy to come over and speak. It's really hard for you to be so impatient, jump out and die. What? Virgo is a pirate. The audience is stunned. Chapter 17, auto-generated chapter title. 017. Holy Sword, Ace Kano, a weapon to break the defense with one hand. What are you kidding? Don't come to destroy the internal unity of our marine. That is, I have worked with Virgo for so many years, how come I don't know that he is an undercover pirate? Please pay attention to your words, this admiral from the army. Our marine is not the same as your army. We are strictly disciplined and frame our companions at will, but we will be punished severely. Moreover, we marine, we are all people who bear justice. How could there be undercover agents from pirates coming in? If the pirates can become vice admiral when they come in, is it really our Sengoku Marshal to be blind? Yeah. Do you think Marshal Sengoku is an idiot who can make a pirate undercover as the base commander? When Sengoku heard the words, his old face turned black. These guys are holding themselves so high now. What if Virgo is really hammered as an undercover agent for a while? Doesn't that mean that the old man has become a blind and stupid person? The scene is a bit out of control, regardless of how Sengoku feels inside now. But, Ron said, it really caused strong dissatisfaction among Marines. After all, Virgo is also their colleague, and all the people here are decent figures. In front of them, even accused their colleague of being a pirate. How can this not make people angry? Virgo didn't expect that someone would be able to directly point out his true identity in this kind of conference. Can't help being surprised. At the same time, the brain is running fast. Thinking about where he is showing his feet, it shouldn't be. Having lurked at Marine for more than 10 years, his identity has never been exposed. Why was it seen through by this man in front of me? Wrong. He did not reveal any flaws. That man must be framing me. Do you want me to show my feet? In other words, he just charged me with a crime for no reason. Wilgo's expression remained calm, because he believes that no one can see through his undercover identity. He is perfect when it comes to undercover. Sometimes, he is even more Marine than Marine. If you don't believe it, you can see the reactions of the few Marine Vice Admirals sitting there. Speaking of Virgo being an undercover pirate, these former colleagues, Marine Vice Admiral partners, were the first to oppose it. And began to accuse Ron. What is an undercover ace, tactical backwards? It looks like Virgo was the one who was unlucky this time. Kizaru looked at this side with interest from the corner. He cocked his mouth while touching his chin. He didn't care if Virgo was an undercover agent, as long as Ron didn't trouble him. But, advertisement, look at Ron, he seems pretty sure. Kizaru couldn't help being a little curious. How did he know? Virgo, what is going on? Is what Ron Admiral said true? Sengoku saw the scene getting more and more chaotic, and knew that it was impossible to continue the meeting. But Wilgo is his capable subordinate after all, and has always trusted him. Sengoku didn't believe that Virgo was an undercover agent. If Ron is really framing his own subordinates, then, Sengoku will certainly not be polite. As Marshal Marine, it is his duty to maintain his men. Although he does not allow spies to be inserted by the enemy, he also does not allow anyone to use this matter to frame his men. So immediately came forward and said, Wilgo saw so many people supporting him. His face didn't change, but there was already a triumphant smile from the bottom of my heart. Marshal Sengoku, it's obvious. This army admiral is waiting for an opportunity to retaliate. Because I just denied his plan to deal with Shichibukai, so he might have a grudge. After listening to Virgo's explanation, Sengoku nodded, neither believing nor disbelief. Other Vice Admiral also echoed, we believe in Virgo. Marshal Sengoku absolutely cannot tolerate this kind of thing. If this time indulges in the framing of Marine's high-level behavior, then next time, this kind of framing will happen to us. Virgo can be said to have won the hearts of the people. Seeing that most of the people around are supporting themselves, Virgo was even more convinced that it was impossible for Ron to use this to bring him down. More than half of the people are supporting me, what are you fighting with me? The Army Admiral, since you say I am a pirate, you have to show evidence. If you can't show evidence, don't blame me for being rude. Virgo stood up and said, even to show your attitude. The whole body was directly covered with black armament hockey. This look is a bit scary. Be regarded as giving the other side a slap in the face. With so many people supporting him, he is afraid of a fart. And you can use this opportunity to return to Ron's army. After all, he thought he had not left any evidence to prove the identity of the pirate. Ron couldn't produce evidence anyway. As long as there is no evidence, the other party will be helpless. By then Ron was framing him. The accusation of framing a colleague is very serious in Marine. Virgo can take advantage of this opportunity to ruin the Army Admiral, and see how he will deal with Shichibukai. Although Virgo looked decent on the surface, he was extremely sinister. This counterattack can be described as vicious and vicious. And these high levels who have not yet expressed their views and have yet to stand in line. It's all here watching how Ron will deal with the next thing. Including Garp and Cranestaff, who are pivotal figures in Marine. Advertisement. Virgo, don't be so serious. Why even use armament hockey? Although we know that your armament hockey is very strong, but it's overkill to scare people, right? You're not afraid of this guy from the army suddenly doing it. Don't worry, this is the Marine headquarters. No matter how courageous he is, he won't dare to deal with you in front of so many of us. The Spider Vice Admiral and the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral said. Virgo smiled faintly and said, of course I know he dare not. I haven't finished speaking yet, puff, holy sword, Ace Kano. Ron stretched out his hand knife and swiped in the air. Very slowly, no one around took Ron's actions seriously. But, as Ron's hand movement ended, I saw Wilgo covered Hockey's body, from the left shoulder to the right lower abdomen, a huge penetrating knife mark appeared directly out of thin air. Immediately afterwards, blood gushed out. The audience was in an uproar. No one thought that Ron would actually shoot directly. And his move is hard to guard against. If it hadn't been for the blood spitting out of Virgo, no one would even know that Ron had shot it. Moreover, Wilgo's body is covered with armament hockey. You can't cut it even with a real knife. You killed someone with a knife, what happened? Virgo also looked incredulous. This cold feeling on his chest was already telling him that he was alive soon. But the other party clearly has no evidence to prove that he is a spy. Why did you dare to make a move? Do you have any evidence? He didn't believe that he was exposed. This was the last dignity of an undercover agent. Virgo fell to the ground and said, dying. Ding, kill Virgo, get 2% template progress. Currently, the progress of the Crime of Pride template is 58%. Is it only 2%? This is too little, right? It seems that we still have to continue to kill Shichibukai. This kind of shrimp is really not enough to stuff your teeth. Ron glanced at Virgo, who was still breathing. He said in a flat tone with no expression on his face. It's just a pirate, kill it and kill it, as for whether you are undercover. It has nothing to do with me. When Virgo heard the words, he took a breath of blood, but his last breath did not get over. Kaido's arrogance. It's a human life at this moment. You killed it without giving a reason? Chapter 18, auto-generated chapter title. 018. Sengoku apologized. The old man blamed Ron this, killed? After a long time, everyone was relieved from this shock. Finally accepted the reality in front of me. Ron actually killed a Marine Vice Admiral directly in front of them. And it is so natural and calm. The most terrifying thing is, they didn't even see how Ron launched the attack. Obviously Ron is 10 meters away from Virgo. Why did he give a symbolic wave of his hand there, and Virgo, 10 meters away, was as if he had been slashed by a great swordsman. And Wilgo was wrapped around armament hockey all over. He just made a hand knife movement, why could he break armament hockey? And it was a fatal blow. What exactly is going on? The Spider Vice Admiral and the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral. The two of them were standing next to Virgo. He didn't notice anything. When they calmed down, Virgo was already lying on the ground. Is this the strength of Army Admiral? This is too scary, right? This kind of attack is simply impossible to guard against. At that time, if the blow was applied to the two of them, perhaps it was the two of them who fell to the ground now. When I think of this, the Spider Vice Admiral and the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral are scared for a while. At this moment, Sengoku's angry head burst into blue veins. Ron actually killed Virgo in front of him without confirming that he was a spy. It's just like hitting him in the face. This army admiral didn't put him Marshal Marine in the slightest. Garp. Block the door. Don't let him out, Sengoku said directly to Garp at the door. Subsequently, his eyes became serious directly, shouted. Ron. I saw Sengoku take a step forward, the jacket burst open directly. It turned into a big Buddha and leaped the roof. The smashed rock fragments continued to fall from the roof of the shed onto the Buddha. Bang bang bang. Sengoku. What are you doing? The crane staff immediately ran over. Blocked in front of Sengoku, she never expected that things would develop to this point. It seemed that Sengoku was very angry. This is for Ron. Get out of the way, Crane. I can't watch him kill a vice admiral in front of me. The crane staff frowned. Advertisement. Although she has never been able to understand Ron's arrogance, Ron is an army admiral anyway, directly under the leadership of Kong. And it was Kong's chosen successor. The cause has not been found out yet. Even Marshal Marine is not qualified to attack an army admiral. To capture an admiral, it must be approved by the upper level. What if this Virgo is really the one sent by the pirate? After you have checked everything, it will not be too late for you to sell the accounts. The crane staff hurriedly said. Sengoku is a bit uncomfortable now. The crane staff will never allow the situation to deteriorate further. Sengoku gritted his teeth. I also know that the staff of Crane is right. Then he lifted the form of the Grey Buddha. This allowed the hanging hearts of the surrounding vice admiral to finally fall. What a strong sense of oppression. It's worthy of being Marshal Sengoku, everyone's fruit, the form of a big Buddha. It's really not worthy of a name. It is said that Admiral is the highest combat power. I think Marshal Sengoku is more powerful. Who knows? Now young Marine, no one has seen Marshal Sengoku take action. Then you say, Marshal Sengoku or this army admiral, who is better? I don't know, unless the two of them can fight. I see if Ron continues to be so arrogant, Marshal Sengoku will fight him someday. I think it's coming soon. Ron didn't even look at Sengoku. For characters without progress bar rewards, Ron doesn't bother to deal with him. But if Sengoku really dared to cross the red line just now, Ron wouldn't mind sending the Buddha to the west. Ron reached into Virgo's clothes. A phone worm was taken out of it. No need to think about it. Let Brother Will carry with him. This particular phone worm must be directly connected to Doflamingo. So Ron dialed the phone directly in full view, just 2 times. There was Doflamingo's voice on the other side. Wilgo, why do you contact me at this time? Hiss, the voice of the phone is not small. When they heard the voice on the other end of the phone, it was indeed Doflamingo's voice. All couldn't help taking a breath. This is no longer necessary. Through Doflamingo's name and tone, even a fool can guess that Virgo must be an undercover agent sent by Doflamingo. Ron got it right. They all blamed Ron just now. Thinking of this, everyone can't help feeling a little embarrassed. Even Sengoku was stunned there. He is the least able to accept this reality. You know, Sengoku has always valued Virgo, but he never expected that he was sent by Doflamingo. Advertisement. When I thought of Rosinante being killed by Brother Ming, I used the undercover agent sent by Doflamingo so much. Is he really stupid and blind? Since Virgo is an undercover agent, and Doflamingo does not know that Virgo has been exposed, he can take advantage of this opportunity now. Sengoku originally wanted to reverse the routine Doflamingo. Preparing to keep everyone silent, however, he never expected Ron to say directly to the phone worm. Doflamingo, wait for me to take your life in Dressrosa. Plain tone, but he said the most arrogant words. It makes people feel that they can't be disobeyed. Who are you? Where is Virgo? Brother Ming on the other end of the phone heard this voice and immediately sat up. This phone must have been carried by Virgo all the time. It is impossible to lend it to others. But now suddenly the voices of other people appeared. Doesn't this mean? A bad feeling arose in Doflamingo's heart. Army Admiral, Ron. Ron didn't even conceal it. Because it is not necessary. After speaking, he hung up the phone. Very good, another Shichibukai is here. Sengoku's old face went black. Ron is really arrogant. Before arresting someone, please inform others and let others wait for yourself. Go secretly and hit someone off guard. But when I think of what I did just now, Ron was really wrong. Sengoku said awkwardly. Ron Admiral, it was the old man who was reckless just now. He didn't understand the ins and outs of the matter and almost caused a catastrophe. Unexpectedly, this guy Virgo is really an undercover agent sent by the pirate. Thanks to you this time, Virgo was identified. If it weren't for you, the consequences of the information leaked out on the day of the war are unimaginable. The old man apologized to you here. At the same time, I am grateful to you. Ron was expressionless. Threw the phone worm into Sengoku's hands. For an arrogant person, he is disdainful of others' understanding, and even less disdainful of others' apologies. What he does is based on his heart. It's not for the approval of someone. So Ron didn't respond to Sengoku at all, just said without any doubt. Prepare me a warship and take me to Dressrosa. Chapter 19, auto-generated chapter title. 019. Ming Jie, stud, come on, who is afraid of whom? Vice Admiral. It's the first time I saw Marshal Sengoku admit his mistake. Marshal, he has given Ron too much face, right? Aokiji nodded, holding a glass of water, and then used the freezing power to cool down, and then drank it in one gulp, then said. It is indeed the first time Marshal Sengoku admitted his mistake. That's because Ron's strength is vital to the top war. If you can reach this level, too, I believe Marshal Sengoku will admit your mistakes. Aokiji and Cha Dolphin walked side by side, chatting casually. Kizaru passed by the two. Take a look at Aokiji. Cocked his mouth, said slyly, huh? Can I use ice today? It's really scary. Aokiji glared at Kizaru irritably. Go ahead and cool off. This Kizaru, in the past 2 days, I always make fun of myself with the events of the day. Dolphin Vice Admiral has heard a little about Aokiji. I heard that he can't even use his freezing ability in front of Ron. Reminiscent of the weird scene where Ron shot today. Can't help but ask curiously, this Army Admiral, what kind of ability do you think he is? You saw it today. He just moved his hands slightly in the air and beat Virgo to death. Besides, I heard that frozen fruit can suppress yours. Don't you think it's weird? Cha Dolphin never played against Ron, so I haven't experienced it personally. You can only ask the person involved, Aokiji. I don't know, it always feels like it is not a devil fruit ability. However, even though Aokiji played against Ron, he did not understand. I advise you not to provoke him in the future. This guy has a very grotesque temper. I saw him as pleasant and pleasant this morning. I didn't expect to change his face at noon. Aokiji kindly reminded. Dolphin Vice Admiral nodded. After today's incident, if anyone can't think about trouble with Ron, it's really a brain disease. Dolphin Vice Admiral now thinks about it and feels afraid for a while. Because Momoshiki Vice Admiral kept staring at Ron during the meeting. So, Dolphin originally planned to show Ron some color after the meeting. Wait, speaking of Momoshiki, why didn't you see her? Did any of you see Momoshiki? Cha Dolphin asked hurriedly. Aokiji shook his head, put his hands in his pockets, and said listlessly. Who pays attention to Momoshiki every day like you? How can I see it? Advertisement Kizaru touched his chin and said with an angry expression. Huh? Momoshiki. The old man saw her sneak aboard the warship and went to Dressrosa with Ron. What? The Dolphin was taken aback. Unexpectedly, Momoshiki ran away with someone. Ron of damn it, wait for you to come back, see if I wanted to make a ruthless talk, but when I thought of Virgo's tragic situation, he immediately changed his head. Look at me. Just make sense with you. Aokiji yawned and said. Let's stop by and see Sakazuki. I don't know how this guy is recovering. Let's go. Inside Marshal Sengoku's office. Sengoku said angrily. Am I the marshal or he is the marshal? How do you feel that he keeps ordering me to do things? Garp grabbed the senbei on the table and poured it directly into his mouth. This said. Okay, don't worry about it. This guy Ron is from the army after all, and he won't stay here for long. Let's bear with him for a few more days. Sengoku took a deep breath, trying to calm his mood. Then said. I just got the information that Redhead Pirates has reached Whitebeard's territory. At this time, I don't know what this guy is going to do with Whitebeard. Garp frowned and said. Did the 2-4 emperors choose to meet at this time? It's really troublesome. Moreover, Kaido is not at peace. It is said that they are gathering forces. Sengoku sighed. Said, if you want to move 1-4 emperors, it will affect other 4 emperors. Seeing that there are more and more enemies over there. On our side, Ron is constantly reducing his combat power. I don't know this time, he is going to do some Shichibukai. When Sengoku thinks about this, his head hurts. Sengoku has already been on the phone with Kong just now. Kong was also very shocked when he heard this. After all, Shichibukai is the minion of World Z House. With Kong's position, it is impossible to condone Ron to do this. Hope Kong can let Ron stop. Sengoku thought so. Dressrosa. Advertisement Doflamingo paced back and forth in the castle. Who can tell me where this army admiral came from? Doflamingo is very irritable now. Unexpectedly, the undercover he had buried for so many years was destroyed by an army admiral. Let his more than 10 years of layout fail. And this army admiral who didn't know where it came from, he hadn't even heard of it. Doesn't it mean that the army doesn't have the position of admiral at all? In Doflamingo's memory, he remembers that the highest rank of the army is vice admiral. After all, the army does not need to deal with so many troublesome enemies like Marine. So there is no seat for admiral at all. Isn't this guy an impersonator? What are you doing in a daze? I didn't hear him coming over to find me. I should check the identity of this person quickly. Shortly after, a man holding a cane with a plum blossom logo, wearing a pair of small sunglasses and a snot came in. This person is the highest cadre of the Don Quixote family, Treble. Dover, I found information about that guy. He is indeed Army Admiral. 3 months ago, the army did not have the position of Admiral. The position of Army Admiral was specially created for him by Kong. He is the first and only Army Admiral. Fu. I thought it was a fake character, but I didn't expect it to be the real Admiral. Very well, since he dared to come over, I will let him come back and forth. Let him know. What happened to the plan that I had worked so hard for more than 10 years was ruined. Doflamingo is not a person who underestimates the enemy. Since the other party is a genuine admiral, then you have to be well prepared. So use this time. Doflamingo arranged birdcage in advance, which was the last line of defense. He even ordered granulated sugar to pretend to be children and conduct raids on the streets, which is the second line of defense. And all the cadres were arranged on the port to form the first line of defense. Stud it. Be prepared to directly harden this army admiral. Doflamingo even used it this time, just waiting for this guy named Ron to come. I even dared to call in advance to inform myself. So today I will teach this arrogant guy a good lesson. Let him come back and forth. Chapter 20, auto-generated chapter title. 020. Too arrogant, even if Kong's phone dared to hang up. No, now, on a warship moving at full speed. Tashigi ran to the deck holding the phone worm, respectfully. He handed the phone worm to Ron with both hands, said tremblingly. Ron Admiral, Marshal Kong called you. Tashigi didn't dare to look up at Ron. Jack's half of ivory, Akainu's half of his body was burned, and this time Virgo's stomach was broken. It kept flashing through Tashigi's mind. Tashigi never thought of it. Ron called her warship, Smoker's warship, to send Ron to Dressrosa. I thought that after the meeting, I could finally get rid of this horrible guy. Blame myself for being bewildered by the gentle Ron in the morning, thinking that Ron Admiral is also a nice person to get along with. But Ron suddenly broke out the scene of killing Virgo at the conference. It really left a huge psychological shadow on Tashigi. You know, she was sitting next to Ron at first, and she felt the most about the sudden burst of Ron. That old man Kong, why are you calling now? Ron took the call worm blankly. Tashigi finally breathed a sigh of relief, and hurried back 2 steps, keeping a certain distance from Ron. There is no way, Ron's pressure is too strong, and this muscle alone makes people breathless. Add to that Ron's indifferent, unsympathetic expression. As soon as Tashigi approached Ron, there was an inexplicable nervousness, shaking all over. As if he were a low-level creature. When he thought that he was a little moved with Ron Admiral in the morning, Tashigi thought he was crazy. Ron Admiral is really arrogant, he even called the military commander Kong the old man. Tashigi murmured in his heart. To be honest, Tashigi wants to retire now, because Sengoku ordered when he set off. During this time, the members of the warships within her should listen to Ron's instructions. Serving such an arrogant monster is simply a hell-level task. Advertisement, hey, Ron, look at what you guys have done. Sengoku complaints are coming to me. The old man transferred you to the past so that you can assist Marine in defeating Whitebeard and give you some merit so that you can take over my position, but I didn't let you deal with Shichibukai. Anyway, Shichibukai is also a member of the world government in name. Doesn't you make it difficult for the old man to do this? The old man doesn't want to hear the 5 elders guys come and bother me. Don't keep talking, I know you're listening. Now quickly turn the ship's bow for the old man, go back to Marine headquarters, and prepare with peace of mind to cooperate with Marine to deal with Whitebeard. Only the voice of Kong over the phone was very serious. Even Tashigi, who was 5 meters away, can feel the oppressive anger and unquestionable tone of voice. It can be seen that Kong is also extremely dissatisfied with this matter. The Marshal of the Armed Forces personally called to give orders, and Tashigi's hanging heart finally fell. It seems that Marshal Sengoku still has a hand to move out Marshal Kong. Now, Ron should always listen to orders, right? This time I was finally able to return, and finally I didn't have to wait on this arrogant monster. However, in Tashigi's dumbfounded expression, Ron didn't even say anything. Just hung up the phone. Bye. Actually hung up? Tashigi's jaw was almost dislocated in surprise. This person is simply arrogant and lawless, even dared to hang up the call of the Marshal? Ron Admiral, the ship. Tashigi originally wanted to ask if he should turn around. Full speed ahead. Unexpectedly, Ron came straight forward and moved forward at full speed. But Master Kong, he made a wrong number, don't bother about it. Tashigi was completely speechless. Everyone has named you by name, surnamed and said your name, okay? Why is this called a typo? Your reason is too sloppy, right? Now, the only port in Dressrosa. All the cadres of the Doflamingo family gathered here. Torpal, Pika, Diamante, Gladius Advertisement Lao G, BABY5, Mahabe, Cora, Buffalo, Dellinger, Senor Pick. A total of 11 combatants. All stand in a row and gather on the harbor. The fighting spirit was full, his face was full of killing intent, and even the sea was shocked and calm. This kind of momentum makes people shudder. Someone came to trouble the young master, what a bravery. Haha, don't see if he can come over to get us. 11 people standing here are the strongest fortress. The passing ships dared not make ashore, and all chose to diverge. Today, there is no ship who dares to enter Dressrosa after seeing this lineup. Kaido's disagreement. It can be seen how lawless this man Doflamingo is. Knowing that the other party is Admiral, he even dared to make this kind of formation, which shows that he is intimidating. Aren't these the cadres of the Don Quixote family? Why are they all on the dock today? Who is this going to deal with? I don't know, don't let them hear you. Don Quixote's family are cruel, don't you want to be treated as garbage toys by them? A bunch of toys are moving hard on the dock. These toy people are former ordinary residents of Dressrosa. After being turned into toy people by sugar, they become coolies. Responsible for moving goods on the dock every day and night. The whole Dressrosa seems to be a harmonious and prosperous city. That's because all the discordant factors have been turned into toys by sugar. Become a permanent coolie in this city. Behind every toy, there is a tragic family who has lost a loved one. Now, these toy laborers, watching all the cadres of the Don Quixote family mobilize, couldn't help but start talking in private. It's better to work hard, no matter who the Don Quixote family is going to deal with and send this lineup, they will definitely win. Yeah, what unrealistic fantasies do we still have? Looking forward to the collapse of the Don Quixote family? That is impossible. Maybe we will be enslaved forever as toys. Looking at the terrifying aura of these high-level cadres, it is really chilling. The Don Quixote family is really too strong. I am afraid that the person he is going to deal with has been scared away before he gets to the shore, right? All these 11 high-level cadres can destroy an army. Chapter 21. Auto-generated chapter title, 021. Who gave you the illusion that you could stop me? I don't remember inviting you aboard. Ron looked at Momoshagi, who was uninvited, and said still blankly. I can't tell whether it's happiness or anger. Momoshagi walked 5 meters away from Ron and stopped. She didn't dare to get too close to Ron. I don't know what's wrong, although Ron didn't show hostility. But it always gives people a strong sense of oppression. Momoshagi didn't dare to get too close, regarding boarding without authorization. I apologized first. Ron Admiral, forgive me for taking the liberty. Since first entered Marine for the first time, I have never heard anyone say to destroy Shichibukai. You are the first. Out of admiration and curiosity, I want to follow along and see if you can do what you say. Momoshagi offered a military salute, a little nervous. Even Momoshagi was surprised by his subconscious move just now. To know, even when I saw the 3 admirals of Akainu Aokiji Kizaru, Momoshagi never saluted them. However, when facing Ron, his body responded instinctively. Momoshagi also felt incredible in her heart. Obviously they are both admiral, so why would they react differently? Ha ha ha. See if I can do what I say. Don't be scared and cry. Ron was amused by the funny remarks. There are even people who question whether they are really stupid human beings who are quick to speak. Seeing Ron turn around, Momoshagi was relieved. Ron smiled. It really almost made Momoshagi cry. She thought Ron was angry. If she blamed herself for boarding the ship without authorization, she wouldn't dare to resist it. However, seeing Ron simply ignored him, Momoshagi felt like an amnesty. After a while, Tashigi ran over and said quietly. Momoshagi Vice Admiral, Admiral Alternate, aren't you afraid of Lord Ron? I can't hide it. You dare to take the initiative to send it to the door, it's amazing. Tashigi suddenly realized that after seeing Ron, her courage had grown. Before the change, she didn't dare to approach Marine Vice Admiral so actively. And now, it's so easy to say, as if sitting in front of her was not a noble officer, just an ordinary woman. Tashigi couldn't help feeling incredible. Is it because after I met Ron, I didn't think the other Marine chiefs were so amazing? Once the sea is difficult to be watered belongs to yes. Advertisement perhaps after Ron's baptism of oppressive arrogance, in contrast, I feel that the other officers are approachable. Tashigi couldn't help but shook his head, unexpectedly he grew up in a strange way. Momoshagi didn't expect Tashigi, a small sergeant, to come over and talk to himself. Ashamed to say, how can I say not to be afraid, just a sudden laugh. I was scared to cry by Ron. Of course I'm afraid, now I regret coming over. Momoshagi said truthfully. By the way, I heard that you took Ron Admiral from the army headquarters? Tashigi nodded. Momoshagi also admired and said. That said, you have seen all the battles where Ron Admiral came here, and you are not brave enough. Jack, Akainu, Aokiji, Virgo. Tashigi thought about it carefully, and it really was. Well, that said, it's really true, 2 women. In this way, the chat was full of enthusiasm. A strange friendship was born. At full speed of the warship, arrived in Dressrosa soon. On the dock, 11 cadres had been waiting for a long time. Now, seeing that it was really a warship approaching, it turned out to be a little excited. It can be seen how lawless these pirates are usually, and they are not afraid to see warships. Brew brew brew, Diamante dialed Ming's phone. Dover, here he is. Doflamingo on the other end of the phone smiled. Foo 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 foo. It's really fast. You don't have to be polite. Since the guest is here, we must treat him well. Diamante smiled unkindly. Understood, Dover, immediately afterwards. All the 11 cadres showed a smirk. Of course they knew what Ming Jie meant by being entertained. It seems that Doflamingo has already prepared. Momoshagi looked at the menacing cadres on the dock. Could not help but say, I have to admit that Doflamingo's strength is still very strong. None of these subordinates are easy to deal with. Ron Admiral, do you want me to hold them? You go directly to Doflamingo. Momoshagi looked at so many people across, since I have come. Advertisement you can't just watch from the sidelines. So he decided to take the initiative to fight, to help Ron share some pressure, otherwise so many cadres, the fight would be endless. Influence Ron against Doflamingo. Momoshagi thought Ron would be very satisfied with her proposal. I just didn't expect. Ron didn't look back, his tone was flat, and he said blankly. Doflamingo is really sensible, afraid that I will be troublesome, so he packed these small fishes and shrimps together and sent them to death. After Ron finished speaking, he jumped directly off the boat. Only Momoshagi and Tashigi were left looking at each other, their faces stunned. Is this what people say? It's too arrogant. After all, these cadres on the opposite side are also powerful pirates. In Ron Admiral's eyes, are so many people blocking the way that they deserve to be called to die? Ron Admiral is not bragging, is he? Boom! Ron fell heavily on that head. Suddenly the ground trembled, and the dust was everywhere. Yeah, is this Army Admiral? What a fascinating muscle, let me Dregger go and enjoy it first, right? Murloc Dredge licked his lips, looked excited, stepped on high heels, and rushed over quickly. Puff, there was a loud noise. Next moment, Drager's whole body was slapped into the ground abruptly. Died on the spot. Ron still walked forward blankly. Who gave you the illusion that you could stop me? Kaido wo's contempt. Only then did the other cadres react. Drager is dead. Come on, kill him together. Unexpectedly, the powerful Murloc would be solved with a slap in the face. The remaining 10 cadres, don't underestimate the enemy, just embrace them. Bang, bang, bang. Ron didn't stop his footsteps, and after 10 steps, no one was standing in front of him. Momoshagi. Tashigi. Momoshagi thought that these people would definitely cause some trouble to Ron. But, never expected, he didn't even have the qualifications to stop Ron. Chapter 22. Auto-generated chapter title, 022. Kaido, if you don't come to save me, Lousy will die. Hey, Diamante, what's the situation on your side? Why didn't you speak? Sitting in the castle, Doflamingo frowned and said. Unexpectedly, the call was so interrupted. This is too fast, just less than a minute ago, still talking to Diamante. Why can't I get in touch so soon? Go and find out what's going on. Flamenco immediately said to the soldier next to him. After all, Doflamingo is the nominal king here. There are still many guards under his command. Soon, a guard hurried over to deliver the message. It's not good, Master Doflamingo. The 11 cadres are all dead. There is a muscular, topless man walking towards the palace. The soldier was panting. Obviously, just ran over from the front to deliver the message. It can be seen from the horrified eyes of this soldier. What kind of horrible scene he discovered. Hearing this, Doflamingo thought he had heard it wrong. Confirmed again and again, only then finally accepted this reality. What is the strength of Admiral? This is too fast, right? Unexpectedly, I underestimated him after all. I didn't expect that all the members were dispatched, and they didn't stop him for a moment. Will this kind of monster appear in the army? Doflamingo frowned. Square inches are in chaos. The development of the matter is completely different from his plan. Unexpectedly, the opponent shot so decisively. This is what Doflamingo has accumulated for decades. It is not easy to train such a group of cadres. Unexpectedly, it was all gone in an instant. He, Doflamingo, turned out to be a polished commander. How far is it to the castle? Doflamingo asked hurriedly. The guard said tremblingly, he has already entered the city. It is estimated that it will not be long. Prepare that fellow with sugar and tell her that she must not be careless, and that the attack must be successful. Yes, fortunately, there is also the killer feature of sugar. Dover gradually calmed down. Go, let's follow up and take a look. Momoshagi pulled Tashigi. Also jumped off the warship. Advertisement he chased him in Ron's direction. Momosagi's heart is beating wildly now. The excitement brought to her by the scene just now was too great. On the contrary, Tashigi seemed to be calmer this time. She was already quite surprised at Ron's terrifying strength. Ron walked on the street with this very oppressive aura and instantly caused the surrounding residents to stop and watch. There are also many young and beautiful women staring at Ron Chigwo's upper body without blinking. Who is this person? This muscle, I see my heart beating. However, a little girl emerged from the crowd of people who were watching. I saw this little girl is very cute, as if lost. Just like that, he appeared in front of Ron. Then he raised his head and looked at Ron. Said pitifully, Big brother, I'm lost, can you take me to find my mother? Ron lowered his head, looking at the little girl blankly. Did not respond to her. They are all very old and still pretending to be cute here. Others don't know the true identity of this little girl, but Ron is very clear about it. This guy just eats the sugar that the childlike fruit can't grow up. His true age is much older than it is now. It's not a loli at all, it should be called the old aunt. And this guy is very sinister. The whole Dressrosa so many toys, it is her ability to change. It can be said that the little girl in front of me who looks harmless to humans and animals is the culprit in this city, where so many wives are scattered. Ah, what a cute little girl. At this time, Momoshagi Vice Admiral, who was catching up from behind, said involuntarily. Even Tashigi showed a gentle smile. The two women have absolutely no resistance to this cute child. At this moment, I saw the insidious smile of granulated sugar that was imperceptible. Sure enough, this trick of his own was unsatisfactory. Even women love themselves so much, not to mention this man. Thought of here, Sugar continued to show that innocent smile, and then he was about to step forward and hug Ron's thigh. Just let her meet, that means the battle is over. This is the horror of the childlike fruit, it will turn people directly into toys, and the people around will lose their memory of him. Seeing Sugar's hand, it got closer and closer to Ron's leg. He didn't hide, very good, advertisement had the opportunity. Sugar can't help but feel happy in my heart, almost hit it. However, the moment her hand touched Ron, the Sugar felt as if it had touched the sun. Among Sugar's horrified eyes, the arm that touched Ron's leg burned violently. Ah, severe pain. Let the granulated sugar scream directly. Surrealong, surrealong. Suddenly, the people around were frightened and immediately fled. Even Momoshagi and Tashigi didn't expect this to happen. This Ron Admiral. Could it be that even children are going to be killed? You. How did you discover me? Sugar snarled at Ron. However, she found that Ron didn't even look at her and went around her and continued to walk towards the castle. Later, granulated sugar was discovered. The flames burning on his arms expanded rapidly. In just an instant, she swallowed her whole body. This time she didn't even have time to scream, it is directly reduced to ashes. With the death of Sugar, the toys that have been turned into human form instantly. The memories that people have lost return to their respective minds. Suddenly, the whole Dressrosa was in chaos. Many women who are already married realized that they actually have a husband. Until this moment, Momosagi and Tashigi realized that they were wrong. The one Ron killed was not an ordinary kid, but the core cadre of the Don Quixote family, Sugar. Ron had just saved almost the entire people of Dressrosa. This made Momosagi and Tashigi, who were still dissatisfied with Ron just now, extremely ashamed. Doflamingo didn't expect to miss the Sugar. Ron, in front of him, like a god of death, was approaching him step by step. The whole Dressrosa is in a mess. The foundation he had accumulated over the years was ruined. Doflamingo knew that he was definitely not an opponent of this army admiral. Don't even think about it at the moment. Pick up the phone worm directly. Dialed the number of 4 Emperors Kaido. Hey, Kaido, if you don't come to save me, your smile fruit will be gone. Chapter 23, Auto-generated chapter title. 023. A mere human, would I need your help? Ding, congratulations to host, increased template progress by 0.5%. After drying the sugar, the progress of the template has finally improved a bit. Unexpectedly, it was 0.5%, plus the 11 cadres who were killed before. These are all counted. Ron's Guilt of Arrogance template has increased by a total of 2%. Now it has come to 60%, the progress is a bit slow. However, it is very close to 70%. When it reaches 70%, you will get a random gift pack. Ron was looking forward to it. It depends on how many progress bars this Doflamingo can bring him. Wanokuni, the island of ghosts. Kaido answered the phone drunkly and said angrily. What are you kidding? Dover, you guy, is your brain sick? Which admiral will deal with a role like you? Is it Aokiji, Akainu or Kizaru? Kaido is going all out to prepare its troops, and intends to take the opportunity of Whitebeard to attack the marine headquarters to get a big vote. Here comes a praying mantis to catch the cicada, and the oriole is behind. Unexpectedly, at this time, Doflamingo would call him. And also said such unrealistic words. Even if you use farts, it's impossible to think about it. Marine is now fully preparing to deal with Whitebeard. How could it be possible to assign an admiral to deal with Doflamingo? Moreover, Sengoku's brain is not sick again. Isn't it stupid to choose to act on Shichibukai, who is in the same camp at this time? It is too late for them to unite Shichibukai at this time, so how can they choose to deal with Shichibukai? Kaido cursed and hung up the phone. Doflamingo snorted angrily. It seems that Kaido is not reliable. I have to count on myself. At this moment, he has firmly trapped the entire castle with birdcage. This is the first time Doflamingo has used birdcage to form a defensive barrier. Before, he used this move as an offensive skill, trapped people inside, and then kept shrinking. Unexpectedly this time it was actually to cover himself for defense. However, Doflamingo is very confident about the sturdiness of birdcage. Since he ate devil fruit today, no one has ever been able to cut the thread of birdcage. It can be said, this kind of thread will not be cut off. As long as you hide inside and don't go out, then no matter how strong the opponent is, there is no way he can do it with himself. Advertisement, and what I have to do now is to contact World Z House immediately and ask them to quickly summon this lunatic back. Unexpectedly, Heavenly Yaksha, who has always been arrogant, had a day of hiding in it and daring not to go out. Outside the castle, now the whole Dressrosa has been messed up. Until this moment, all the truth has just surfaced. Those who were turned into toys told their relatives and friends all the facts. Lifted the veil of Doflamingo's hypocrisy. Let these citizens know for the first time that they were deceived by Doflamingo. This damn it's pirate. At the same time, these people finally know who the rescuer is. It was the man with the red fruit on his upper body. It is said that this guy is Army Admiral. Unexpectedly, for so many years, Marine has not solved the trouble, but it was solved by an Army Admiral. These people all looked at Ron with tears in their eyes. Especially the Liku royal family, the mood now is indescribable. I saw the Liku royal family walking at the forefront of the crowd, leading everyone behind Ron. Before that, they couldn't even imagine that the powerful Don Quixote family would be killed by one person. Now there was only one polished commander hiding in the birdcage, afraid to come out. Is this still the arrogant Don Quixote? Bang bang bang. Momosagi attacked birdcage fiercely. Whether it is using armament hockey, coupled with Marine 6 styles, birdcage can't be broken even though everything is done. This frustrated Momosagi. There is a feeling of unwillingness. Obviously the enemy was in front of them in the end, but they couldn't break through this birdcage. Momosagi looked at the expectant eyes of so many people behind him, and the sense of responsibility he had never felt before filled his mind. Isn't it what Marine should do to respond to the people's expectations and protect the peace of one side? If it weren't for Ron Admiral, all the truth would continue to be covered up. This damn Doflamingo will still live freely as Shichibukai. None of the Marines are willing to come forward. Only Ron Admiral ruled out the crowd and resolutely got rid of Shichibukai. Momosagi looked at Ron's back now, and felt that this man was shining, so great. Only this man is the real justice. Momosagi completely turned into a little fan. So, she must clear the obstacles for Ron. Clear out this damn birdcage in front of you. Advertisement, what are you doing in a daze? Let's go up together and help. Yes, help Ron Admiral clear the obstacles. Ron Admiral is desperate for our business, we have to do something. King Liku led all the people and swarmed up, desperately trying to tear this birdcage open so that Ron Admiral can enter. This is not something that can be solved by too many people. In the face of absolute strength, no matter how many people there are, it's no use. Even the strength of these people who often feed on milk can't shake birdcage at all. Luo Zheng has just been communicating with the system. I am inquiring about the template progress of the crime of arrogance, and sorting out how much growth these little pirates have brought to the template progress. Unexpectedly, a dazed effort, suddenly so many people gathered around and started to push birdcage together. He even squeezed Ron behind. This made Ron very upset. Why are these guys coming over to make trouble? What are you doing? Although Ron was expressionless, people could still hear a deep sense of disgust from his mouth. Ron Admiral, in order to thank you for your life-saving grace, we decided to help you break this birdcage. King Liku said excitedly. Don't make trouble, get out of me. Tashigi, Momosagi, keep these people away from me. Ah, this. Tashigi and Momosagi are dumbfounded. How great it would be to help so many people together. The chances of breaking birdcage are still greater. Why should we drive them away? But this was Ron's order after all. The two of them obediently obeyed the order. Evacuate the crowd immediately. Ron Admiral, we just want to help as much as we can. King Liku said on behalf of the masses. Without looking back, Ron walked straight to birdcage and said lightly. A mere human, do I need your help? How arrogant this is. King Liku was stunned. The arrogance of this savior was 10,000 times that of Doflamingo. Subsequently, only a babble was heard. Ron's hand grabbed a birdcage thread, and the next moment started with Ron's hand. The line of fire spread rapidly. The entire birdcage is like a fuse, and the flame is extended. In the blink of an eye, the entire birdcage is burned to ashes. The audience was stunned. They got the birdcage, which hadn't moved for a long time, but it was so easily destroyed by Ron Admiral. Chapter 24, Auto-generated chapter title. 024. 5 Elders 12 Orders attempted to forcefully recall Ron. That guy is really bold, he's in Dressrosa now preparing to kill Doflamingo. 5 Elders, fat, slammed the table and said angrily. He just hung up Doflamingo's call for help and immediately felt shocked. I never expected that Shichibukai, who was endorsed by their 5 Elders, would really dare to move. This doesn't put World Z Mansion in the eyes. This is what killed Doflamingo, this has clearly slapped them in the face. 5 Elders, sword, snorted coldly and said, when the Gai Kong recommended him as an army admiral, I totally disagreed. This Ron's face is lonely and arrogant, he is not someone who can be controlled. It's all right now, I have caused such a big trouble to myself. 5 Elders, hi, stood up from the seat and said coldly. It's too late to say this. Don't let this guy really kill Doflamingo. Without Doflamingo, we will lose an important weapon channel and even a lot of heavenly gold. I think you should be aware of the importance of the position of Doflamingo. Hurry up, give me an order, anyway, you have to call me Ron back. Don't let him really do it. Now, in Dressrosa's Ron and others, it is not yet clear that this incident has reached the world government. With the cracking of birdcage, there was no obstacle between Ron and Doflamingo in the castle. Doflamingo never expected that his birdcage would be cracked one day. At the moment, he is in the castle, looking through the window at Ron under the castle. I have to say that Doflamingo's current mood is extremely complicated. They thought birdcage would buy him a certain amount of time, in order to let people from World Z Mansion come to rescue him. But never expected, the man just touched birdcage lightly. My own invulnerable birdcage, like Kakin's, instantly turned to ashes. Now Doflamingo has no mood to pursue how Ron did it. Seeing Luan approach step by step, now that it has a feeling that has never been before, fear. Fear from the bottom of my heart. Ron was followed by the entire Dressrosa citizen. A piece of black crushed. Doflamingo couldn't help but muttered. Why the 5 Elders guys haven't given an order to let Ron go back? If it's later, my life won't be guaranteed. At this time, Ron's phone worm rang suddenly. Brew brew brew. Who? Ron answered the phone bug and asked in a flat tone. It's me. The voice of 5 Elders, fat, came on the other end of the phone. From his voice, he could tell that this guy was angry now. Ron, I order you to go back now, don't move Doflamingo. Otherwise, you are at your own risk, have you heard? 5 Elders said in a commanding tone. The voice of the phone worm is loud. It was so big that even Momosagi and Tashigi, as well as King Liku not far behind, could hear them. 5 Elders personally called to give orders. It's hard to do this now, it's obviously a little bit close. Advertisement Momosagi gritted his teeth secretly. After all, 5 Elders is their immediate boss. No one can defy 5 Elders, let alone Ron and Admiral, even Marshal Sengoku can't defy 5 Elders. Is it true that Doflamingo can't be killed this time? Damn it. Brother Ming, who had been watching Ron from the castle, breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the call. Finally caught up. It's a matter of fact, it seems that his life was finally saved this time. As for Ron's murder of his subordinates, he will definitely avenge him. Ron will surely pay his debts, however, haven't waited for Doflamingo to be happy. Suddenly found Ron below, he threw the phone worm directly. Doflamingo was dumbfounded. Is this guy crazy? You won't listen to 5 Elders' orders? Don't you want to be an army admiral anymore? Hey. The phone worm that had fallen on the ground not far away still heard a voice from there. 5 elders, fat, said angrily, "You kid, did you throw the phone bug away? It's a pity that no one has answered his words anymore." Momoshagi looked at Ron almost admiringly. Is this man too rigid? What should I do if I move a little bit? So, is it okay? Momoshagi asked in a low voice. After all, the other party is 5 elders. However, Ron still didn't stop, he just replied faintly. Noisy. At this time, the phone worm on Momoshagi also rang. Momoshagi is holding the phone worm. I have guessed who is calling. But she didn't dare not pick it up. When Momoshagi connected, there was another roar from the other side. It's 5 elders, fat, which is the most grumpy of 5 elders. Gion, I order you to bring Ron back immediately. Don't let him do anything, and you must never hurt Doflamingo's life. If you don't bring it back, both of you will be dealt with by the military law, and you will never want to be nominated by Admiral. It really was 5 elders. It seems that they know Ron is hard to persuade, so I turned the spear on myself. Momoshagi glanced at Ron. I wanted to ask Ron for his opinion. Unexpectedly, Ron took the initiative to speak. I saw Ron say lightly. Afraid. Momoshagi was taken aback. Unexpectedly, Ron would ask that. But she has been deeply shocked by Ron's actions today and feels that Ron is the real justice. She saw her eyes firmly said, not afraid, advertisement. Ron still had the expressionless face and said in a flat tone. Then follow me and ignore this stupid voice. Uh-huh. Momoshagi nodded excitedly. Then he just learned Ron's appearance and threw the phone away. She has never felt so cool. Immediately afterwards. It's Tashigi's phone worm again. 5 elders beat all the ways to reach Ron. Not only that, even the marine patrolling nearby also received an order from 5 elders. All turn around to intercept Ron. Want to force Ron to be recalled. Marine soldiers aboard a warship got off the ship. With the order of 5 elders, flew towards the castle. However, everything is too late. Above the castle, Doflamingo looked at Ron, who refused several orders in a row. Asked incredulously, aren't you afraid of 5 elders? They want to kill you just as they kill an ant. Even so, do you dare to disobey their orders? There was no movement in Ron's face. Said indifferently. That's because you haven't figured out who the ants are. Doflamingo was taken aback. He didn't even realize what Ron meant for a while. When he wanted to understand, he couldn't help laughing out loud. Furfurfurfurfur, really arrogant. I have never seen such an arrogant person. You mean 5 elders as the ant, furfurfurfurfur. Then let me see where your confidence is. 16 sacred bullets. Doflamingo is not talking nonsense, and directly uses the fruit awakening skill. I saw 16 thick threads that were extremely thick, and the twisted hockey pierced towards Ron. Bang bang bang. Ron didn't even dodge at all. 16 sacred bullets hit Ron, but none of them scratched the skin. Dover looked incredulous. What? How could it be possible that there is nothing? I saw Ron took a look at where he was hit, reached out and flicked the dust on the bullet. Said indifferently. Being self-reliant, the voice just fell. A huge light suddenly appeared in his hand, as dazzling as the sun. The merciless sun, when Ron turned and left here. Doflamingo has been reduced to ashes. The marine soldiers who had ordered Ron to go back on the orders of 5 elders had just arrived. And, witnessed this scene with my own eyes. Chapter 25, auto-generated chapter title. 025. Acquired skills. The sun in your heart, go back to be judged? Congratulations to host for successfully killing Doflamingo, close black lens bracket. Template progress increased by 3%. The current progress value of the Crime of Pride template is 63%, close black lens bracket. For the first time over 60%, awaken the passive skill the sun in my heart, close black lens bracket. The sun in my heart. When there is no sunlight, you can still forcibly summon the magic of the sun. The duration is 6 hours. Ron stood in the sun, listening to the report of the system. I thought. Can you use magic without sunlight? Yes, as long as the host has sunshine in his heart, he can also summon the magic of the sun at night. Close black lens bracket. I'm mumbling to myself, not asking you, Ron said to the system blankly. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. It's really arrogant. I'm the one who talks too much. Close black lens bracket. Really killed Doflamingo. Momoshagi froze in astonishment. Ron Admiral really did what he said. They really killed their most used Shichibukai under the heavy obstruction of World Z House. It didn't give 5 elders any face. Momoshagi at this moment. Look at the man standing on the castle, soaking in the sun. Cannot help but his eyes shine. So handsome. Tashigi also showed the same fascinating expression as Momoshagi. This is the real soldier. Now, in the eyes of the second woman, the figure bathed in sunlight is a god. Only him, only qualified to bear the word justice. However, at this moment, those marine soldiers who had just been ordered by 5 elders to take Ron back forcibly. All were stunned. They never expected that they would come a step too late if they hurry up. Is this man the legendary army admiral? What a courage. Even under the repeated opposition of 5 elders, he blatantly disobeyed the order. Killed the pirates personally recognized by World Z House. Isn't he going to get involved in the army? Even the army can't accommodate him anymore from today, right? These marine soldiers came late, so they don't know the ins and outs of the matter. Advertisement. They only know, it was 5 elders who gave them the order to come here to stop Ron. But, obviously, now their mission has failed. Ron, who killed Doflamingo, didn't even have ashes left. Ron Admiral, please come back with us. Ron Admiral, please cooperate with us. Ron Admiral, 5 elders summoned, please go back to headquarters. One after another, Marine soldiers came from all directions. All with 5 elders' orders, said to Ron, "Hey, what are you doing?" Momoshage stared at the Marine soldiers who came late. Momoshage Vice Admiral, this is an order from 5 elders, and we are just executing the order. Please don't interfere, Momoshage said angrily. Do you know what Doflamingo has done? He deserves it. Ron Admiral did the right thing. Momoshage Vice Admiral, we are just executing orders, please don't embarrass us. 5 elders just wanted to meet Ron Admiral and asked him to go back. A Marine soldier took out a summons order signed by 5 elders himself. Just show it in front of Momoshage. Momoshage looked carefully, and it turned out that it was the summoning order issued by 5 elders himself. It says let Ron return to Marine headquarters in 1 day. And, this time, World Political F will assign a 5 elders to come to Marine headquarters to investigate Ron. It seems that this incident is very serious, Momoshage frowned. 5 elders is going to be real this time. The last time they came to investigate in person was the defect of Admiral Zephyr before Marine. This can be seen. Their attention to Ron has risen to the height of Zephyr's rebellion against Marine. Doflamingo was defeated, we don't have to be controlled by Doflamingo anymore. Very good, at this time, the people of Dressrosa finally recovered from the incredible scene before them. They never expected it. Doflamingo has 1 day to be defeated. And it was so thoroughly defeated, turned directly to ashes. Now, advertisement these people looked up at Ron who was bathing in the sun. This is the savior, it is their god of Dressrosa. Must follow this image to create a statue for Ron God tier. These ordinary people all gathered around. The large number of people directly squeezed all these Marines out. In their eyes, these Marines are people who eat and do nothing. And Ron God tier is the savior who really saved them. These stupid Marines. In a vain attempt to take away their savior. I can't bear it anymore, can't wait to create a stampede and trample them to death. Now just squeezing them away is already very kind. For the gratitude of these people, Ron was naturally not interested. Jumped directly from the castle, walked straight to his warship. Huh? Ron Admiral, wait a minute, you must be back to Marine headquarters within a day, please come with us. The Marine soldiers who had been ordered to recall Ron, broke away from the crowd. He ran after Ron, however, Ron didn't even look at them and said calmly. It seems that if you don't let this noisy person shut up, he will be like a fly, annoying me all the time. Then go back with you and solve this matter completely. In a word, all the Marine soldiers who followed shuddered. Subconsciously stopped. What does Ron Admiral mean by solving it completely? Isn't he about to take action on 5 elders? Why is there a bad feeling? Later, Tashigi and Momoshage followed Ron and boarded the warship. Leaving Dressrosa. On this day, the Marine headquarters exploded, and 5 elders' orders made Sengoku a headache. If Ron is not summoned back this time, I am afraid that his position as marshal will be unstable. According to 5 elders, at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, a trial meeting will be held against Ron. Sengoku has a shadow over the meeting now, and the news that Shichibukai Doflamingo was killed. It soon reached the ears of several other Shichibukai. Chapter 26, Auto-generated chapter title, 026. Provocation? Kaido received a delivery of half of ivory. The news of Doflamingo's murder caused no less sensation than the execution of Ace. This has also become an important fuse for the next turmoil in the New World. No one thought, Marine will really hit Shichibukai one day. This broke Shichibukai's legal looting qualifications. Let Shichibukai's identity become no longer so safe. Even the pirates in the sea can't figure out Marine's routine. 4 Emperors Kaido just got the news, he couldn't help breaking the wine gourd directly. He never expected it. It turns out that Doflamingo called me just now, it was not a joke. How is this possible? What happened to Marine that I didn't know? Why did they do it to Shichibukai? At this time, Quinn, who had been in charge of intelligence, came over and said, Boss Kaido, it was not Marine who did it, it was the army who killed Doflamingo. Kaido was stunned when he heard the name, Army? Quinn nodded and said, yes, it's an army admiral named Ron. Kaido burped alcohol and said, why did Marine collude with the army? Isn't they incompatible with each other? Forget it, die if you die, I can only blame Doflamingo for his poor strength. Even an army admiral can't deal with it, so he can only blame himself. Leave him alone, as long as we cultivate another factory that produces smile fruits. Why haven't you seen Jack that guy come back? Asked by Kaido boss. Quinn couldn't help feeling a little nervous, because he didn't know where Jack went. No matter how to contact Jack in the past 2 days. Even sending investigative powers to search for Jack did not find Jack's whereabouts. But just received a strange courier, this makes Quinn a little worried. Boss Kaido, Jack, probably already dead, Quinn said cautiously. What? Heard this news, Kaido roared. You said Jack is dead? Where did you get the news? Quinn hesitated for a moment. Only then was he cautious and handed the package that he had just received today to Kaido. Boss Kaido, take a look at this. Advertisement? Oh, what is this? Kaido tore open the package when he saw the thing inside. The indifferent expression on his face instantly turned into anger. Jack's ivory? Who sent this from? Quinn pointed to the text attached to the packaging. Said, it says Army Admiral Ron. Kaido froze for a moment, his face gloomy. Then he smirked, this Ron again? Really arrogant, is this provoking lousy? Kaido crushed the remaining half of the ivory in one hand. Murderous intent burst into his face. Kaido has ridden the ocean for more than 10 years, and no one has dared to provoke him so much. The order goes on, summoning all the troops. Lousy wants to smash the army headquarters. Amazon Lily, after the Empress received the news. Fallen into contemplation. Just a minute ago, she had just received a summoning order from Marine, ordering her to go to Marine headquarters to assist Marine in dealing with Whitebeard. But unexpectedly, another information was received in just a minute. Doflamingo, also Shichibukai, was killed by an admiral. Where is Marine singing? Have you started with Shichibukai? But this Ron was called back by 5 elders. I'm afraid this army admiral is miserable this time. In this way, this is not the decision of the world government or Marine, but a personal decision called Ron. I was still worried about whether you would find a concubine next time, but fortunately, this madman was called back by 5 elders, and it is estimated that he will not be able to get out in the future. You should be relieved now. New World, on an abandoned island, a black knife stood there, shining. Hawkeye Mahawk was holding coffee, and in one hand he didn't know where the information came from. Marine's summoning order was still on the table, muttered in a low voice. It's really funny, Admiral, who would attack Shichibukai. But how do you deal with the next 5 elders' anger? It's really exciting. New World, a certain sea area, Blackbeard frowned. Said unhappily. What is Ron Admiral doing? Isn't he making trouble? It's not good when to kill Shichibukai, but this time. Advertisement, how can I implement my plan? Blackbeard looked at the summoning order in his hand. Could not help but fall into contemplation. All the plans were good, and Marine did as he wished and issued a convening order. As long as he holds this summoning order, he can enter the Marine headquarters, and then go to the underwater prison to select team members. With any luck. When I came back, I could also meet Whitebeard, who had lost both ends with Marine. It is extremely possible to capture Whitebeard's shock fruit. When the time comes, he will be standing on top of the pirate, holding the double fruit. But now, all beautiful visions were actually destroyed by Admiral, an army who didn't know where it came from. This made Blackbeard gritted his teeth with hatred. Now, it's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is about to set, on the return trip to the warship at Marine headquarters. Momoshiki and Tashigi were on the deck, carefully discussing what happened today. Today is just one day. It brought Momoshiki a blood boil that he hadn't been in the army for more than 10 years. Tashigi, if you said I want to be transferred to the army, follow Ron Admiral, will he agree? Tashigi looked at Momoshiki in surprise, seeing no one around, he said cautiously. Momoshiki Vice Admiral, you are crazy. This Ron Admiral is so uncomfortable, are you sure you want to work under him? Momoshiki sighed. Think of this arrogant and boundless Admiral. And his arbitrariness, and that feeling of oppression that is so powerful that it trembles. Cannot help but shudder. Haha, I really am crazy, I should have such thoughts. To be honest, I haven't dared to get too close until now. When I saw Ron Admiral, I trembled with fear. Tashigi nodded in agreement. Me too, don't dare to look at him directly. Then the 2 women chuckled and laughed, at this time. Suddenly a figure appeared behind the 2. Chapter 27, auto-generated chapter title. 027. Ron, a creature standing on the apex of all humans. Momoshiki and Tashigi in order not to be heard by Ron. I also deliberately found a remote corner and discussed with each other here. Unexpectedly, when the second daughter just laughed. Suddenly felt a cool breeze behind him. The 2 couldn't help but fought a cold war. What are you 2 discussing? Who are you afraid to face? Ron appeared behind the 2, seeing the 2 women discussing in joy. Just find it interesting, cannot help but ask aloud. At this moment, the sun has gone down. Ron returned to his normal figure and his tone became gentle. But that's the tone. Tashigi couldn't help feeling the swelling of pores all over his body. This feeling is too familiar to her. In the morning, she was fascinated by such a Ron. Ron in this state is so elegant and charming, that kind of smile can even melt any woman's heart. The gentle tone makes people sink in once they hear it. So, Tashigi was confused and followed him into the strategy meeting. However, next, Ron's attitude suddenly changed, which really deepened Tashigi's psychological shadow. But Momoshiki heard this sound for the first time. She had never seen Ron so gentle. All she saw was the kind of Ron who was the only one in the sky and the world. So suddenly there was no reaction, because of Ron's back. After hearing this unfamiliar voice, Momoshiki thought someone else would sneak attack. Because under her strong sense of knowledge, she didn't even perceive the presence of people behind her. This alone was enough to make Momoshiki frightened. Subconsciously, she felt that the enemy who came this time was no small thing. So I turned around and wanted to fight back. Momoshiki body art is extremely powerful. This book is set. The top master of physical skills for those without fruit ability, under the tutelage of Garp. This is the only person who does not have devil fruit ability, but is eligible to nominate Admiral. It is also the only one of Marine in recent years. Of course, this does not include Garp, who is unwilling to be promoted to Admiral, and Zephyr, who has defected. Advertisement. What Momoshiki relies on is her powerful haki and her outstanding physical skills. A pair of breathtaking, beautifully long legs, you can easily kick a small hill with one kick. You know, Momoshagi often confuses Garp and Suru's staff. In physical skills, he has inherited most of Garp's mantle. They all use Deshan as sandbags for physical exercises. A pair of big long legs, without thinking about it, he turned around and kicked it over. If this is kicked, it is either dead or injured. Momoshagi Vice Admiral, no. Tashigi hurriedly stopped. Is this Momoshagi crazy? She even dared to attack Ron Admiral. Is this enough to live? Marine, who was the first to attack Ron Admiral, is still lying in the infirmary. The large area burns all over the body, and the huge scars left behind. Tashigi just held back in a hurry, leaving an indelible shadow in his heart. And this Momoshagi Vice Admiral, is it also looking for death? This is a girl. What if Ron Admiral is angered and burned again? Tashigi doesn't think Momoshagi can withstand the high temperature. The reason why Akainu was able to resist, he was only seriously injured, but did not die. Although the main reason is because Ron Admiral kept his hands, but also part of the reason is because Akainu Admiral is lava demon fruit power. It has certain resistance to high temperature, but Tashigi knew that Momoshagi had no such ability. But she hurriedly hurried, and still did not have time to stop Momoshagi. Momoshagi Vice Admiral's actions are too fast. Momoshagi turned around, and the powerful physique and armament hockey had torn the air. Seeing that this foot is getting closer and closer to Ron. Ron's expression changed. Passive skills the sun in the heart, instantly activated. The powerful magic power suddenly broke out. In the blink of an eye, it became the strongest state at 12 noon. A huge sense of oppression struck again. Momoshagi and Tashigi couldn't be more familiar with this feeling. At this moment, Momoshagi finally found out that it was Ron Admiral, but it was too late to stop. His leg is less than a centimeter away from Ron, advertisement. Ron's newly acquired skill, the sun in his heart. It is a passive skill. As long as it senses that life is threatened, it will be activated as soon as possible. Instantly recovered to 12 noon, the strongest state. With the current template progress, Ron can use it for 6 hours a day, 60% can be used for 6 hours. Of course, this state can also be lifted voluntarily, and the remaining time will be returned as much as possible after it is lifted. Boom. Less than a centimeter away from Ron. A big hand, like iron tongs. Easily caught the leg kicked by Momoshagi, because the distance is too close. The spider tattoo on Momosagi's thigh was right in front of Ron. Momoshagi also turned around with the kick now. When she saw Ron's sturdy body, she felt the familiar oppression. I didn't even dare to move, even if the action at the moment is so inelegant. I can only let Ron Admiral hold her leg at such close range. Ron Admiral, Momoshagi even trembled in her voice. Sorry, I didn't know it was you. I thought it was an enemy sneak attack. Momoshagi quickly admitted his mistake. In the position, Ron is taller than her, so rashly attacking the officer should admit his mistake. But this is not the main reason. If it were to attack other admiral, maybe Momoshagi just laughed it off, and would not admit it was wrong. But I don't know how, facing the Ron in front of him. Subconsciously counseled. I always feel that Ron is a creature standing on top of all human beings. This feeling is so strong and real. Especially this time being so close to Ron, this feeling became more and more obvious. The words of apology were also blurted out, for fear that Lewin would turn to ashes when he was angry. Because she had already felt that the ankle being held by Ron had started to heat up gradually. Chapter 28, auto-generated chapter title. 028. Ron's mark, Momoshagi may be masochistic. Fear. Deep fear. Feel the temperature coming from Ron's palm. There was a cold sweat on Momosagi's forehead, but now I dare not move by myself. The distance is so close, she saw Ron's expressionless face. And eyes drooping, condescending, looking at my own eyes. Momoshagi finally found out, how did the pirates who died under Ron feel at the last moment? That is a sense of powerlessness in the face of the absolute strong. It is a mountain that cannot be surpassed anyway. Is there really such a strong person in this world? Why just give yourself such a strong sense of oppression just by the momentum? Momoshagi had no doubts, she might die if she moves now. Ron, who was nearly twice his height, grabbed the kick Momoshagi kicked with one hand. The posture is very inelegant. Ron just lifted up slightly harder. Momosagi's long legs will show a 180-degree split. Momoshagi suddenly felt, in front of the other's sturdy body, he looked so petite. Ron Admiral. She didn't mean to escape the rabbit, she just didn't recognize Ron Admiral. Tashigi was scared though, but still gritted his teeth and stood up. Pled for Momoshagi. Momoshagi also endured the burning sensation in his ankle. Said to Ron, Sir Ron, however, Momoshagi has not finished speaking. Ron's hand holding Momosagi's ankle lifted up. As a result, Momosagi's other leg standing on the ground was also directly off the ground. What? Subsequently, Momoshagi hangs upside down. Head down. It was so carried by Ron. Exactly, it should have been grabbed by one foot, hanging upside down in Ron's hand. ZZZ Momosagiko felt a severe burning sensation and passed from the ankle. Gritting his teeth, try not to make a sound, advertisement. This mark is to give you a long memory, the next time, it's not just the ankle. Ron finished. Throw it directly to the side, as if it were still a chicken. Momosagi was thrown directly to the deck aside, she was already sweating at the moment. A heart hanging upside down finally calmed down. Next time? She dare not have another time. This Ron Admiral is really scary. Is it too difficult to get along with? Momoshiki looked at the red mark on his ankle. This was a red handprint that Ron had burned with the heat just now. Although this burn is not very serious, but I am afraid this red mark will not disappear. I guess every time I see this mark in the future, I will think of today's horrible scene. But after calming down, Momoshiki found, I didn't feel any discomfort because of what was just now. On the contrary, there is still a strange happiness. What is going on? Am I pervert? Think there is still a little blush? Momoshiki shook his head sharply. I wonder what's wrong with myself. And Tashigi saw Momoshiki finally escape, bowed gratefully to Ron. Then, immediately ran over and helped Momoshiki up. Are you okay? Momoshiki stood up and lowered his head to hide his expression. Fine. Fortunately, it was dark now. Tashigi couldn't see her flushed face. Waiting for the second girl to look in Ron's direction again. Suddenly found that he was no longer there. Where is Chief Ron? Momoshiki asked curiously. Tashigi shook his head and said with a puzzled face. He's gone. It's not better. If I continue to stay here, I won't be able to talk anymore if I'm nervous. No, he tortured you so much just now. How do you feel that you don't want him to leave? Momoshiki immediately waved his hands in embarrassment. Said, what? I do not have it. Don't talk nonsense. Advertisement. 9 o'clock in the night, now, Marine Headquarters. A big ship in World Z House is resting on the dock. CP7, who was in charge of the escort, stood in 2 rows imposingly in a dark suit. All of them wear sunglasses. Did not expect. 5 elders, fat, rushed from Marijoy to Marin all night. It can be seen that he attaches great importance to Ron's incident. And strong dissatisfaction. When 5 elders, fat, walked to Marshal Sengoku's office, they said angrily. Where is Ron? Why haven't you come back? Sengoku knew that the visitors were bad. Ron really caused him a big trouble this time. I must teach him a good lesson when I come back, ahem. Why did you come so early? Sengoku stood up and said. The last time Zephyr defected to Marine, it was the 5 elders who came. I also found Sengoku as soon as I came. It's just that there was no late night raid like today. 5 elders, fat, said coldly. Sengoku, you fellow, don't pretend to be garlic. The old man doesn't believe in such a big thing, would you not know in advance? Without your acquiescence, can that fellow Ron drive Marine's warship? It's really unkind who came. Sengoku neither admitted nor denied. To be honest, although he has a slight tacit component, it can't play a decisive role at all. Even if he strongly opposed Ron to deal with Shichibukai at the time. What's the use? For Ron, is his approval and disapproval useful? According to Ron's arrogant ultimate character. If Ron can hear a word, he is considered to have lost. It seems that this 5 elders, fat, has never seen Ron at all. Whenever he met once, I would never say such a thing. Since you haven't seen it, it's easy to say, feel it yourself. Sengoku suddenly thought of it sinisterly. The warship that picked Ron Admiral back will be able to arrive at Marine Headquarters by 8 o'clock tomorrow. At that time, you are responsible for asking him. Chapter 29, auto-generated chapter title. 029. 5 elders, does his army admiral still want to do it? Of course the old man is responsible for asking him. Is it possible that the old man came to your Marine Headquarters and couldn't even be the top leader? As long as I am here, I have the right to manage you. 5 elders, fat, gave a cold snort, very arrogant. Look for my face in the future. As long as I'm here to check on you. It won't be easy for anyone to take care of you, rotten stock. 5 elders, fat, glanced at Sengoku not angrily. Isn't Sengoku talking nonsense? He came here to judge Ron and see what his heart is. So, tomorrow's trial meeting, of course, is responsible for presiding over it. Is there any objection to this? You know, World Z Mansion is Marine's top boss, and they, 5 elders, are the main power holders of World Z Mansion, let alone Marine Marshal. Even the whole Marine must listen to them. Since 5 elders, fat, entered Marshal Sengoku's office, they didn't regard it as Marshal's office at all. Just like getting home by yourself. That is very random. It's as if the big boss came to check the work of his subordinates. 5 elders, fat, sat directly in the position of Marshal Sengoku. Cocked Erlang's legs, he waved his hand casually. Ordered. Hurry up and hurry them up and let the warship speed up a little bit. The old man can't wait to question Ron face to see what this guy means. Does he still want to be an army admiral? How dare he publicly disobey the old man's orders? Who does he consider the old man? F***me if you don't want to do it. When 5 elders, fat, said this, his anger rose. He slapped the table sharply. This table made of pure metal was photographed into scrap metal by him. Even the ground made of rock was shattered by this one. And even armament hockey is useless. Such terrifying strength, as well as physical strength beyond common sense, deserves to be one of the 5 most powerful people in the world today. 5 elders at the top of World Z House, he came this time. Advertisement just to give Ron a slap in the face. If this guy still doesn't know what is good or bad, remove his position in the Army Admiral. Detained him to an undersea prison, in order to imitation especially. If this behavior is left unchecked, where is the prestige of World Z House? What is the prestige of 5 elders? Wouldn't it be that any cat or dog in the future would dare to defy the orders of my old star? 5 elders, fat. As long as he thought of the act of Ron throwing away his phone bugs, his beard would rise with anger. 5 elders have different personalities. The most grumpy and arrogant of them is 5 elders, fat. That's why, this time is the reason he came here. Someone is so arrogant in front of him, it's really a trick. Playing a big sword in front of Guangdong, wait for tomorrow. Just let that kid see the price of arrogance in front of oneself. 5 elders, fat, thought through gritted teeth. Sengoku saw 5 elders, fat, coaxing, proud and confident. Cannot help but secretly said in my heart, see how long your arrogant look can last. Soon, you will meet someone more arrogant than you. By the time, you will regret this decision today. Although Sengoku thinks so, it certainly can't show it on his face. But at this moment, he already has a mentality to watch a good show. This 5 elders is really annoying, I can't cure him by myself. But someone can cure him. As for who that person is, the old man doesn't say. Actually, half an hour ago, Sengoku's thoughts on Ron are actually no different from the current 5 elders. There is also a certain amount of anger in my heart. After all, advertisement according to the previous news. Ron was making too much noise in Dressrosa, if he just took Doflamingo to Marine headquarters. Sengoku also acquiesced, but Ron did it more too much. He actually killed all the cadres of the Doflamingo family. There is no idea of catching them to Marine headquarters at all. This was Sengoku at the time, never thought of it. He originally thought that Ron's purpose to deal with Shichibukai this time was to capture them at most and put them in an undersea prison. Who would have thought that there would be no stay? But, the change in Sengoku's attitude towards all this is due to Momosagi calling him not long ago. After Momosagi explained everything that happened to Dressrosa to Sengoku, all of Doflamingo's crimes in Dressrosa became apparent. It's almost exhausted, listening Sengoku gritted his teeth. Not only that, Momosagi also described the cheering scenes of the people who were rescued by Dressrosa after Ron killed the Doflamingo family to Sengoku. Visible, killing the Doflamingo family is what the people want. These rescued people have regarded Ron as their savior. When I heard this, Sengoku couldn't help feeling a little ashamed. This is clearly what their marine should do, but Doflamingo did so many evil deeds under their noses. Their marine did not come up with any effective measures. They were even kept in the dark. The work that was supposed to be done by himself was completed by an army admiral. Thinking of this, Sengoku felt a little ashamed. It seems tomorrow, if 5 elders, fat, really wants to remove the title of Ron Army Admiral, he must come out and say a few more words for Ron. Chapter 30, auto-generated chapter title. 030. Back to Marine headquarters, facing 5 elders inquiry. Ron Admiral, what are you doing, now? It's 10 o'clock in the middle of the night, a few warships. Unhurriedly, toward Marine headquarters. The reason for such a slow speed. It's entirely because the warship Ron was riding on sailed at this speed. The other warships did not dare to surpass him, only half a head behind Ron's warship. Sailing slowly. Late at night, the entire sea was pitch black. Only the surrounding warships in charge of escort have lights on. The sea at night is calm outside, the feeling of coolness. It makes people feel relaxed and happy. Soldiers sailing at night like to come to the deck to blow the sea breeze. It seems to be able to take away the tiredness of the day. But only this warship Ron was on board, no one dared to rush to the deck to blow the sea breeze. The reason is simple, because Ron is standing on the deck now. The other marine soldiers didn't want to, but didn't dare. If unnecessary contact. They tried their best to keep a distance of tens of meters from Ron, even though Ron is now behaving harmlessly. He looked like a prince, and his smile was very sunny and kind, revealing elegance and gentleness everywhere. But no one can forget what happened in Dressrosa during the day. It's horrible, it left a deep shadow on these marine soldiers. So, even though the current Ron is so kind, they still dare not approach. Only dare to stand far away. There's a long dining table on the deck. There are various delicacies on it, especially the fragrant barbecue. Ron had ordered the kitchen to do it now, and at the moment. Tashigi just sat here with a dazed expression, looking at the delicious food in front of me. He was at a loss, because Ron was sitting across from her. Advertisement Tashigi really can't figure out what is going on with Ron now. Why is it so arrogant for a while, so gentle again for a while? Even though, Tashigi couldn't resist this gentle Ron. Even every time he sees Ron in this state, he blushes. No way, this kind of elegant image of a noble son is really capable of grabbing women's hearts. Even Tashigi is no exception, but Tashigi experienced it once during the day. Ron was so gentle in the morning, but if you say you change your face, you change your face. Leads to Tashigi, the shadows still remain in my heart and cannot dissipate. Learn from mistakes. As a result, Tashigi will no longer be deceived by Ron Admiral's gentle appearance. But nevertheless, in the night, saw such a gentle candlelight dinner. Tashigi's heart was still beating, a little fanciful. But thinking of the daytime scenes, I forced myself to calm down. What if this Ron Admiral turns his face after eating? Ron Admiral, what are you doing? Tashigi asked in a low voice tentatively. She didn't dare to eat until Ron didn't explain it. Ron Admiral isn't playing around with himself again, is he? What if you suddenly lift the table while eating? Dosiki is super nervous now. There are a lot of Marines around watching. Ron smiled unusually. I said in the morning, in order to thank you for sending me here specially, I will invite you to dinner at noon. It's just that it was delayed because of something. Now let's change to dinner, so gentle, Ron finished speaking. Tashigi was stunned. It turns out that Ron Admiral still remembers the words in the morning. Tashigi thought he was joking. Unexpectedly, Ron Admiral said his words. It turned out to be true, and was willing to invite her little sergeant to dinner. Is this still the arrogant army admiral? You know, the other party is admiral? This position is higher than that of the sergeant. It's a heaven in an underground advertisement if you change to normal. Who would have thought that Admiral would invite a sergeant to dinner? But Ron Admiral did it. He is really too gentle. This kind of overbearing president invites Cinderella to dinner, written in the Ned text, but it is really easy to use in reality. Excited Tashigi, he almost didn't express on the spot that he was willing to go through fire and water for Ron, so he agreed. Ron is a man who believes in his words, since I said I would invite her to dinner. So, just be sure to please. Ron did all this not to prepare for the template of the sin of desire in the future. In short, candlelight dinner on the deck tonight. It really made Tashigi feel uneasy. Early the next morning, these warships floated slowly to the Marine headquarters. I have to say that Sengoku is quite accurate in estimating the time. Sure enough, arrived before 8 o'clock. 5 elders, fat, stood in front of the window of the conference room in the office building, looking condescendingly at the warship that had just docked. Cannot help but snorted. Is this the army admiral? But so, this small body doesn't look great. I don't know why that guy Kong uses him so much. The old man thought it was a fierce character, and I don't know where this guy has the courage to hang up the old man's phone. Dare to ignore the old man's order and kill Shichibukai recognized by World Z House. Being self-reliant, at this time, 5 elders, fat, suddenly noticed that the phone bug in his arms rang. Who will call yourself at this time? 5 elders, fat, picked up the phone worm with a look of confusion. Hello, it's me, Kong's voice came over the phone. 5 elders, fat, couldn't help but sneer. I really mean that Cao Cao is here. I just talked about using Ron for Kong's device. I didn't expect this guy to call and intercede so soon. Kong, your news is really good. Why did you come to intercede to Ron so soon? Wukong, who was on the other end of the phone, ignored the words of 5 elders, fat, at all. He hurriedly said. The old man heard the news as soon as he came to work in the morning. No matter what Ron made wrong, don't be impulsive and wait for me to go over. 5 elders, fat, looked unhappy. Sora, you are getting more and more unreasonable. Why? Do you have to come personally to protect your army admiral? Kong didn't care that the other party was 5 elders, and said loudly. Fool, I'm here to save your life.